Good evening, everyone. Good evening, everyone. I want to thank each and every one of you tonight for being here. This is a monumental meeting as well as a monumental moment in the School Building Committee as we proceed to have discussions and an open dialogue about the choices that we are about to make. Before we get started, I would like to thank every member of the School Building Committee for all their hard work and all their time and dedication away from their friends and family to be here night after night, discussion after discussion, to understand as well as help us get to this monumental and milestone meeting. I would also remind everyone to please be respectful, as we already have been and have demonstrated to be so, to be respectful of each other's thoughts and opinions as we move through discussions, allowing the space and the time to share everyone's input. We have also invited the town council here tonight to ensure that we are following all proper procedures and addressing the open meeting laws and adhering to them. I look forward to the production as well as the collaborative effort and spirit tonight. And with that, I would like to call this meeting to open.
Roll call vote.
Yes, please.
Diane Allen.
Here.
Greg Bendel.
Here.
Kate Bissell.
Here.
Dr. Brand is not on yet. Kevin Kyra.
Yep.
Michael Comosio.
Here.
Justin Couchet.
Here.
Marianne Galezo.
Here.
Nicholas Golden.
Here.
Christine Holleran.
Here.
John Holloway. Dennis Kelly.
Here.
Paul Melorani.
Here.
Craig Miner.
Here.
Christine Murray.
Here.
Judy O'Connell.
Here.
Christine Prendergast.
Here.
David Ragsdale.
Here.
Paul Ruggiero.
Here.
Stacy Scott.
Here.
Eric Slagle.
Here.
Stephen Turner.
Here.
And Vivian Varabedian.
Here. With that, if we could move to approval of minutes dated September 17, 2024. If I could get a motion.
Madam Vice Chair, I'll make a motion to approve the minutes.
Thank you. Anyone? Anyone second?
Second.
Oh, thank you. Roll call.
Diane Allen.
Yes.
Greg Bendel.
Yes.
Kate Bissell.
Yes.
Kevin Kyra.
Yes.
Michael Comosio.
Yes.
Justin Couchet.
Yes.
Marianne Galezo.
Yes.
Nicholas Golden.
Here.
Christine Holleran. We'll come back to Christine, she's online. Dennis Kelly.
Yes.
Paul Melorani.
Yes.
Craig Miner.
Yes.
Christine Murray.
Yes.
Judy O'Connell.
Yes.
Christine Prendergast.
Yes.
David Ragsdale.
Yes.
Paul Ruggiero.
Yes.
Stacy Scott.
Yes.
Eric Slagle.
Yes.
Stephen Turner.
Abstain.
Vivian Varabedian.
Yes.
And Christine Holleran.
Yes.
Thank you.
I did neglect to mention that this meeting is being recorded and televised via local cable access channel for all of those in the audience. If next we could move to approval of invoices and commitments with warrant number 16.
Yep, warrant article number 16. First up is SMMA's invoice for basic OPM services for the feasibility study in the amount of $3,750, followed by Doran Whittier's the basic services for feasibility in the amount of $3,000. Total warrant article 16 in the amount of $6,750. And Dennis Kelly with the recommendation.
I'd like to make a motion to approve warrant number 16 in a total amount of $6,750.
Is there a second? Christine Pendergast, thank you. Roll call vote, please.
Diane Allen.
Yes.
Greg Bendel.
Yes.
Kate Bissell.
Yes.
Kevin Kyra.
Abstain.
Michael Comosio.
Yes.
Justin Couchet.
Yes.
Marianne Galezo.
Yes.
Nicholas Golden.
Yes.
Christine Holleran.
Yes.
Dennis Kelly.
Yes.
Paul Melorani.
Yes.
Craig Miner. Christine Murray.
Yes.
Judy O'Connell.
Yes.
Christine Prendergast.
Yes.
David Ragsdale.
Yes.
Paul Ruggiero.
Yes.
Stacy Scott.
Yes.
Eric Schlegel,
Yes.
Stephen Turner,
Yes.
Vivian Barbadian.
Yes. Next item on the agenda under approval of invoices and commitments is designer amendment number 3 for investigative surveys, site survey, geotechnical, geoenvironmental, and traffic.
Thank you, Madam Vice Chair. At this time, we'd like to postpone the review of these two amendments. They were supplied to the committee for the one preferred option, so we supplied both options. But we'd like to wait until the vote and come back to this so we can approve the one preferred option selection for Doran Whittier's amendment.
Can I get a motion to table this?
I move to table these amendments.
Thank you. Is there a second? Second. Roll call vote.
Madam Chair,
Yes.
should you table to later in the agenda? Well, if you're going to table this, then you need to table it to a time certain.
Sure. Table this to the end of the conversation and after the vote has been made for even the preferred option for the gymnasium. Thank you. Do we need to take a roll call vote for that? Yes, please.
Okay, Diane Allen,
Yes.
Greg Bendel,
Yes.
Kate Bissell,
Yes.
Dr. Brand,
Yes.
Kevin Kyra,
Yes.
Michael Comosio,
Yes.
Justin Couchet,
Yes.
Marianne Galezzo,
Yes.
Nicholas Golden,
Yes.
Christine Holleran,
Yes.
Dennis Kelly,
Yes.
Paul Melorani,
Yes.
Craig Minor, Christine Murray,
Yes.
Judy O'Connell,
Yes.
Christine Prendergast,
Yes.
David Ragsdale,
Yes.
Paul Ruggiero,
Yes.
Stacy Scott,
Yes.
Eric Schlegel,
Yes.
Stephen Turner,
Yes.
Vivian Barbadian.
Yes. Thank you. And now I would like to turn it to both SMMA and Doran Whittier to begin tonight's presentation on the design updates.
Thank you. So our first update today is going to be on the survey results that were received. This past month, a staff survey was conducted for all of the staff. Just to give a brief summary of this, there was interest in just getting some feedback from the educators. And so this survey was actually distributed to all of the schools, not just the elementary. It also went to the middle and high school staff members. So a total of 293 staff members participated in the survey. And staff ranked the options in order of preference. In the last meeting, there was a question about how the ranking was calculated, so I just wanted to clarify. When an option, or when a question was asking for rankings and that option was given, the ranking was calculated with a point system, and it's called the Borda count, where the item ranked first would get a certain number of points as the total number of items that you have in your question, and then it would continue descending for the number of points. So with 5 options given, if the option that was put in the number 1 place would be given 5 points, and then the option that was put in the second place would get 4 points and continue to descend. If an item wasn't selected because you weren't forced to rank all 5 options, it was given a 0-point value. So that's how the ranking was completed. So based on the results received, the pre-K 5 option at the north site was selected as the preferred option, and that was consistent with the previous surveys that have been done.
I have a question, Madam Chair.
Sure.
Why wasn't there an option for a pre-K to K brand new at the Wildwood site? Considering that's how we all started this process, was to build a new Wildwood.
So I actually realized that after the survey was distributed, but because they had started taking the survey, we couldn't change it without redistributing the entire survey. But it was actually a typo when I put this together. when it was distributed, that the pre-K3 ad reno was in place of the pre-K.
And who,
Okay.
Joel Whittier did the survey, or SMMA did the survey?
Doran Whittier did the survey.
Can you clarify that?
Madam Vice Chair, can you hear me? I just jumped in for a second.
Yes, Dr. Brand, thank you for joining us this evening, and let the record note that at his time of attendance. Yes,
Thank you very much, and my apologies to the committee for being late in joining tonight, and I appreciate your understanding and flexibility as I do so, given my personal circumstances. But just to respond to Mr. Kyver's question, really the interest of this survey for the staff was really to probe specifically their interest in and support of consolidation. So that was an oversight in terms of the pre-KK, whether it be repair or new. But the interest in exploring this was at the request and interest of many in the community who have asked continuously, what's the position of the staff relative to this question around school consolidation? And so it was felt that still this I think paints a pretty clear picture around staff's support of school consolidation, whether it be pre-K3 or pre-K5.
Okay, then that begs a follow-up question through the chair to Mr. Brand. Then why even have number 5 in there if your primary goal is consolidation? Why give that as an option?
No, I want to correct that, Mr. Kyra, that it was not about eliminating the pre-KK. It was rather about putting this question to the staff around their interest of whether it be pre-KK, pre-K3, or pre-K5, and the real interest around the school structure, whether it be multiple grades or single grades.
thank you, Dr. Brand. Ronnie, if you wouldn't mind continuing.
A point of clarification. The survey that went out to everybody else had the pre-K through K new, correct?
Correct. So the general consensus from staff is that building a new pre-K5 school would be significant benefit in multiple ways. There would be fewer transition. It would prove to provide consistency, continuity, and stability for students and enable better collaboration among staff in the elementary years. Another theme that was recognized was modern facilities would improve safety, foster better learning environments, and meet accessibility needs, particularly for students with special needs. Number 3 was improved collaboration. Staff under one roof improves collaboration, the ability to share resources and support students more effectively. Number 4, health and safety, updated infrastructure and accessibility, creating a healthier learning environment. Number 5 was cost efficiency and future planning, cost efficiency with maintenance of one building and serving the future needs of the community. And lastly, a theme revolved around pre-K5 school would foster stronger relationships and a sense of community, both for students and family. And so this was, a summary of all of the open comments that were provided through the survey. So in summary, the overwhelming sentiment was that a new modern pre-K5 school would be a valuable investment that offers educational, social, and economic benefits through fewer transitions, better collaboration, and improved facilities for both students and staff. And I'll just pause there. I don't know if anybody would like to add anything to that was part of the survey, but if not, I'll keep moving. So also part of this pause in this timeline was to receive community feedback, and the community was invited to provide feedback in this survey over the past month. We had over 1,300 people access the survey. Parents and community members were the largest group of responders. And then we asked to select your preferred option. More than half of the 1,099 responders selected a new pre-K5 option as their preferred choice. The pre-KK and repair only came in second, followed by pre-KK new, followed by the pre-K3, and then the pre-K5 ad reno.
I'm sorry, I have just a quick question, Madam Chair. Does this include any physically submitted flyer surveys from the senior center?
Yes, it does. Michael Camosio actually went in person, picked them up, and delivered them to Dorian Whittier to be included as part of this count.
Thank you.
So there were over 700 comments that were provided on why a preferred option was selected. So we have grouped them into the themes that we found. And the common themes included the importance of consolidation. Participants expressed that merging services and resources is important for the future and possibly to increase efficiency or improve outcomes. Long-term solutions. Participants express a desire for solutions that are sustainable in the long run. An option may require more cost or effort now, but are seen as providing lasting benefits. Another theme was aligning with goals. Consolidation options were seen as aligning well with the overall goals for education and the community. Tax and financial considerations. Participants expressed concerns about how changes would affect the financial burden on the public or organization. Some respondents expressed support for new projects with manageable cost impact. Support for new structures. While there is some caution around tax and cost, there is also support for new structures that could provide improved long-term prospects, providing they are well aligned with the broader goals and come with an acceptable financial impact. In summary, the three themes that we saw were the consolidation. It was viewed positively by many, seen as necessary for future success. Long-term thinking, emphasized with respondents looking for sustainable goals, goal-aligned solutions. And then the financial and tax implications, that they are significant concerns and there is a general willingness to support new projects if they lead to greater efficiency or stability. We also asked the question about the gymnasium, and over 920 people responded to this question. Approximately 75% were in favor of the larger gymnasium size. And to better understand the cost impact based on gymnasium size to the project, we calculated the cost of a new pre-K-5 alternative with a reduced gymnasium space of 6,000 square feet, which would be supported by the MSBA. In this third column, you'll see those numbers. The square footage was reduced to almost 155,000 square feet. It had an estimated midpoint construction cost of $180 million, and that would become an estimated local share of about $125 million. On average, on the average home, that annual tax impact would be approximately $690, or a $40 difference annually from the 12,000 square foot gymnasium option. And the monthly impact is $58, which would be approximately a $3 difference. And I'll pause there to see if there's any questions, I guess. Or turn it over to you.
Any questions?
Point of clarification, on the square footage, it's a 6,000 square foot gym as opposed to 12,000. The reduction in size is about 9,000 square feet. Is that because of some of the ancillary hall space that comes and the 50% uplift that MSBA applies?
That's called the gross multiplier, so it does take care of corridors, contributions to wall thicknesses, mechanical spaces, et cetera. So it's a 1.5 multiplier, so that 6,000 net becomes 9,000 gross square feet.
Thank you.
Any other
Thank you
questions?
for calculating that.
Have we paid off the bonds on the present school that we're sitting in now, the high school?
No.
I'm sorry, but the questions are at the moment open only to the committee. Once we have the public comments, happy to address. Any other questions from the committee members before we move on to public relations update?
And this, for the chair,
Yes.
just so the audience knows that this is tax increases based off of 695, Mr. Slagle, and it goes up if your house value is higher, correct?
Correct.
So you want to explain that to the
Yes, thank
viewing
you.
audience.
Through you, Madam Vice Chair.
The estimates on this slide are based on what is the average single-family home in Wilmington, which is the value in FY '24 dollars is $683,790. So it's based on a 30-year fixed principal debt and at a 4% interest rate. Obviously, if your value is more than that, the numbers would change. If your value is less than that, the numbers would change in kind of a prorated share based on the tax value of the property.
Yep, Public Relations Working Group.
I'd like to invite Michael Camosio to give the update.
Thank you, Vivian. So since our last meeting, we've had another community forum, and the next day we had a meeting at the senior center. I think both of those were productive, got a lot of feedback. We had a table at Fall Fest. We fielded quite a few questions. Not sure the impact we had an additional survey, but the survey was still open, so we pushed that information. And then separately, some of you may have seen between newspapers and online, there's been postings. We reached out to, I believe, the town crier, the Apple, Patch, and then Dr. Brand's office has sent out some updates. One item just to highlight that the FAQs on the project website have not yet been updated to my understanding, but that's been in process for about a week or so, and hopefully that's updated very soon because that information will be key to all the questions. We've seen an increase in questions from the distribution since our last meeting.
Madam Chair, if I can respond to that. Yes, they will be updated by the end of this week. I've been working with the superintendent's office on formatting, and so I worked with the town manager, assistant town manager, to clarify some of the comments, and so we should have those updated and live on the website by the end of the week.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I'm all set. Thank you.
Just one comment.
Absolutely.
I just want to thank the Public Relations Working Committee. I'm finally satisfied that we have reached as many people as we could possibly reach. That was a goal of mine, to make sure that we got everybody's input in town. Thank you so much for your hard work on that.
Thank you.
And I know we've seen,
Yeah, no, the committee is small in size, but forceful in effect, so we appreciate that. Thank you.
I'd like to thank Eric and Judy for getting the flyer out townwide to everybody also. That was great.
Yeah, if I could just speak really briefly on that, I do think that Judy O'Connell in our office and Tracy in the superintendent's office did yeoman's work in getting that survey out and putting it together and making it, I think, as successful as I think it was, given the results. I think I'm much more comfortable. I can't speak for the whole committee, but I would imagine that a lot of us are more comfortable knowing that survey went out and got the kind of impact that it had. I've seen it in people's hands and got a lot of feedback about it, so I think that was a positive.
And just to elaborate, no, I think we definitely appreciate that survey. I was trying to give an update since the last meeting, but no, I think we appreciate how well that's done. More people have mentioned they've seen the project, or at least having that flyer that we can give out has been a way that more people have been able to see this.
That's great.
It should not go unnoticed that PAWS has been a huge contributor as well. The push from their organization has been tremendous. Obviously, I think you can see in attendance tonight and throughout the last 18 months.
So, thank you. Next, we'll do a recap of and a review of the shortlisted options.
I was just going to say the effort that was made to gather more feedback in these last 2 months with the extension, I think it has hit a record in our office for any project and engagement of a community at this level and phase. So it was really impressive to see how much feedback was received and to read all of the comments, which I know all of you have as well, or at least received them. So as a recap for the options, we have 9 options that have been shortlisted for this preferred schematic report phase. The ones with the red outlines are the five that are on the short list that was at the end of PSR by this committee. And the 4 that are not highlighted are the ones that were added for cost comparison purposes. And this is just a recap of the cost for each of the projects. Obviously, there is a range of the impact that is realized based on which option moves forward. And I know we've talked about this probably ad nauseum, so I won't run through that unless Eric wants to add anything to this.
No, I think obviously we've gone over this slide for a few times, but for those in the public, this is a larger version of the earlier slide that Mr. Kyra had mentioned, which lays out the estimated local share at the midpoint of the estimates, with an annual debt payment, annual tax increase for the average single-family home, and monthly impact. Again, those are all based on the average single-family home value in Wilmington of $683,790.
Madam Vice Chair, through you to the town manager, and could you clarify for us whether this is a permanent addition for the folks who may be tuning in for the first time to the tax base, or is this temporary?
Sure. So the proposal is based on a debt exclusion, which is a tax increase that is only for this project, and as the project costs decrease over the 30-year term, as this is a declining payment, that tax increase goes away.
And I'll just clarify that for the pre-K 5 new construction option, right now this is indicating the cost with the 12,000 square foot gymnasium, because that's what we had carried originally.
And Madam Vice Chair,
Yes.
just for the record, could I just have the town manager just step through the tax increase for each one of the proposals, so we get that out and nobody's surprised?
Yeah.
Sure.
Please.
Thank you. So for the repair only at the Wildwood site, because we would not be able to participate in MSBA for that, we would be carrying the entirety of the cost of that project. That's estimated at $29.3 million. The annual debt payment, again, this is on a declining debt schedule, so it's the highest in year 1, and in year 30, it's the lowest, about half of what it is in year 1. But the first year of that declining debt payment would be $2.2 million. The average annual, the annual tax increase on an average single-family home would be $160, and the monthly impact would be $13 in that scenario. If we were to go for the new at the Wildwood, the estimated local share would be $66 million approximately. The annual debt payment would be about $4.9 million, which would translate into $370 increase on the average single-family home and a $31 monthly impact. If we went with the pre-K through 3 new at the Woburn Street site, the estimated local share would be about $106 million. That annual debt payment in that case would be $7.8 million, with the annual tax increase on the average single-family home of $590 and the monthly impact of about $49. If you went for the ad reno for the pre-K through 5 at the north, that would be $129 million estimated local share, the annual debt payment about $9.5 million, and the annual tax increase on the average single-family home about $710. The monthly impact for that would be $59. And then the pre-K through 5 new at the north, the estimated local share is $132 million. The annual debt payment on that would be $9.7 million. The average tax, or the annual tax increase on an average single-family home would be $730, or a monthly impact of about $61.
Thank you.
Thank you. I'd also like to recognize Dr. Brand. He has his hand raised.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Just a point for clarification for viewers in the community that may be joining this as of late. But I think it's also important to remind everyone that of these 5 options that remain, the repair only at the Wildwood certainly would provide far newer and improved physical conditions of that building. But as a reminder, that repair does not change the educational space or the footprint of that building. In other words, the class sizes, the offices, and the support spaces, or lack thereof, as those challenges exist, that does not change with that repair only. It's worthwhile noting that all of the other options, the other 4 options, the new in the pre-K, the new in the pre-K3, and the addition renovation, and the new in the pre-K5, not only all provide a new modernized educational facility in terms of the structure, but also right-size the educational spaces to better enhance and support teaching and learning.
Thank you. Any other comments from the committee members? Questions?
The ad reno for the north, does that include the oversized gym? The renovation?
Yes, it does.
So that does include the oversized gym. Thank you.
Yeah, when we started, we were directed to pursue the 12,000 square foot gymnasium, so both options had that.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. So at this time, we'd like to open it up to public comment. But before we do, please note that there are members of the committee in attendance remotely, and they will be listening as well. So your comments will be heard by the entire committee. As well as, please do allow no more than 3 minutes per individual to allow ample time for all that have been in attendance today and present to have the opportunity to speak. And if I may request that please state your name as well as your address and to be acknowledged.
You also have to state the names of the people participating.
And just for clarification, we also do need to state the names of the members participating remotely. Julie, if you wouldn't mind.
Remotely, we have Dr. Brand, Dawn Walters from Doran Whittier, myself, Sarah Traniello, and Stacy Scott.
Yep. There is a microphone posted in the middle, and if you wouldn't mind using that.
Madam Vice Chair, would you
Yes.
like me to time the comments so that we know when?
Please, if you don't mind, that would be
I'd be happy to do that.
appreciated. Thank you.
Good evening, School Building Committee members. My name is Amy Iasconi, and I live at 247 Woburn Street. I have been an educator at the North Intermediate School in Wilmington for almost 23 years. Tonight, I am here with my friends and colleagues representing the dedicated staff of the North Intermediate School.
Hi, my name is Jill Reynolds. I've been an educator in Wilmington at the North Intermediate School for almost 20 years. I am here tonight representing the North staff. All staff members at the North believe it is vital to be included in the current proposed building project.
We have collectively written a letter in support of the proposal of a new pre-K to 5 elementary school, a project we believe is essential for the future of our students and the Wilmington community. We appreciate the opportunity to share our thoughts and hope you will carefully consider our perspective as you move forward with this important decision. Dear Wildwood Building Committee, if you've ever visited the North Intermediate School, you know that our school is more than just a building. It's truly a family and a community. We laugh together, cry together, problem solve together, and genuinely care for one another. As we follow the Wildwood situation and the choice of options, the staff at the North strongly believes that building a new pre-K to 5 school is the best option for all students. We urge you, as you vote, to take our North community into account when making your decision. In this day and age, school safety weighs heavily on the minds of our educators and our parents and guardians. Schools should be equipped with robust camera systems that can monitor our hallways, cafeteria, all exterior doors, parking lots, fields, and playgrounds. These systems not only deter potential threats, but also help monitor activities in real time and provide evidence when necessary. Our schools are used for public events, especially after hours, and need clear zones of control to keep public and student spaces separated. There's really no way to do this in the current building. We also should have a place for visitors to check in and wait in an effort to determine why they are visiting our schools and where they are headed before welcoming them through our doors. At this point, the place for that is outside. In the event of a fire, the North Intermediate School is not equipped with a sprinkler system. If the North is not part of this project, it could be many years before a sprinkler system could be installed. If a future project includes installing a sprinkler system, it may trigger additional code compliance requirements. This could lead to a significant increase in cost for the town. Is that 3 minutes?
30 seconds
Okay.
remaining.
As many other aspects of the building may need to be updated to meet current safety and building regulations.
While we love the North, it is no secret that the building is aging. Constructed in 1962, our school is over 60 years old and shows the wear and tear of a building its age, from broken stained ceiling tiles to a roof that leaks. Our custodial staff works hard to maintain the building, but the reality is that it's over 6 decades old. The idea that it may take 20 more years to get a new school if we aren't included in this project is deeply concerning. We are
Thank you.
managing now, but how will the school hold up when it's 80 plus
Thank
years
you
old?
for your comments.
Thank you.
Thank you. Any other comments? You're doing great. Don't worry about it.
Hi, my name is Layla Jones, and I'm.
Yes,
6 Mackey Road, and I think that
You're, give her a round of applause.
My name is Bobby Jones, 6 Mackey Road. I grew up in Wilmington. I went to these schools, the same schools that now my children are going to. So I've been through them with them, and I see that they're not in great condition. I know that there's talk of a K through 3, pre-K through 3, with leaving out the North, and we can't leave out the North. If we're gonna do it now, if we get the grants to do it now, let's do all the schools that we can. This isn't for my children, because not one of my 3 are gonna hit this new school. But in raising children, you wanna do more for the next group. And there are gonna be kids coming up that I don't wanna see go through this school. My father went to these schools, me, my kids, and I don't want my grandkids to do it. They need a better school, the teachers need a better place to teach. And that's really all I can say.
Thank you. Thank you. Any other comments?
I'll try to pare this down in a little over 3 minutes. I'll see what I can do. Scott Neville. I am a member of the Finance Committee, but tonight I'm going to be speaking as a parent, 215 Chestnut Street. On September 4th, I was able to attend an open house at one of my son's schools. It was a beautiful day for the weather in Wilmington that day. It was 76 degrees and sunny. As I arrived at the school, I was excited to see his classroom, see his desk, write him a note of encouragement for the upcoming school year. When I got into the classroom, it was in the mid-80s. As I sat there, it was 7 p.m. and it was noticeably uncomfortable with no airflow. I listened to his wonderful teacher talk about the upcoming school year and what she had planned. She mentioned that earlier that day they had done reading evaluations for the students. And she told us that their specialist came, took the kids into the hallway, did the evaluation, and then she moved on to talk about other topics. She said it like it was completely normal, that we were taking our kids into the hallway and doing reading evaluations. It's a program where they figure out if our kids are ahead and can be challenged more, if they're behind, need extra help, and where they're struggling. And our facilities are so old, we evaluate our kids' abilities in the hallway. How embarrassing. My son doesn't attend the Woburn Street or the North. He's at the Shawsheen, the newest of our elementary schools, and the one considered to be in the best shape. Picture this, your son or daughter, they're 8 years old, they love school, they have all kinds of friends, they get up excited to go every day, but now in school, math is getting a little bit more challenging, and they're having trouble grasping the concepts. They're working so hard, but they just don't understand it. And most nights, homework's ending in tears now. They're no longer as excited to get up to go to school. Frustrated, you reach out to the teacher, and thankfully they too have noticed, and they tell you that they've been offering your kid extra help, trying to get them by. They tell you that our schools have a math specialist, and they can pull your kid during the school day, for some time to give extra help that the teacher can't do. You're excited, let's get your kid help. Your kid comes home, you tell them about this, they're excited, you could see there's a burden lifted. The next day, they get up excited to go to school again. When they get there, or when the specialist arrives, it's a little bit awkward leaving the classroom, but your kid knows this is their help. The specialist greets them with a smile, and as they guide them down the hallway, they ask them about their favorite color. Then they stop in front of a door. They open the door, and it's a closet. It doesn't have a mop and a bucket sitting there, and it's decorated best it can be, but it has no windows, and it's clearly a closet. What does that do to the psyche of an 8-year-old who's in need of help?
Thank you, sir. Any others? The floor is open.
Hi, everyone. Mike Mercaldi, 5 Crystal Road. For full disclosure, I'm a member of the school committee, but all my views I'm going to say here are for myself and do not reflect the school committee unless I expressly state those. I sent you all a letter a couple days ago. I hope you all read it. If you didn't, recommend you do. I had some good information in there. But what I wanted to spend this time on was I was in your seat about a month ago where school committee, we had to take a vote on what our preferred option was. And I just want to go through quickly what my thought process was on this. And I weighed a lot of the things you did. I weighed in the tax impact. I weighed more heavily, though, the students and then the families as well, too, and the impact on them. I want to go over the tax impact first. Yes, there's more money. When I look at the options there, though, there's options that are not viewed that we need to do as a community, which is if we do a K through 3, we're going to have to renovate the north eventually. And that's going to be another group of people, maybe some of you again, in another room, trying to figure out where we're going to get the money from and then how we're going to spend the money, and the cost is going to be higher, all right? Do it now, one fell swoop, it's done. We're getting a lot of money from the state. Yes, the impact is high. I get that. Nobody likes paying extra taxes. It's what we need to do sometimes to benefit our community. I do want to ask this community, though, to please, when we evaluate our options, seeing if there is any way to reduce the impact, though. Initial roll-up of a building, there's, I'm sure, ways where the scope can be reduced and we still get a great facility. The other thing I was thinking about, too, was our students, especially. All my girls went through these schools. One is right in the north right now. I've been inside all these schools in the past couple of years. Yes, they have been maintained, but maintained is not renovated. Maintained is not renovated to make them fit for purpose for modern educational environment, which is not anymore how we probably went to school, a bunch of rows of desks staring straight forward. It's like how a lot of us work. Group work, you're in dynamic environments. You need to spread out. That's how these modern educational classrooms are. It's to get our kids ready for the modern workplace. If we fall back to the way the 1950s style is, that's the level of education that they're going to get, and they're not going to benefit from these improvements. We need to help out our students here, okay? And then lastly, the families. I had to navigate so many pickups from after-school cares as 2 working parents all the time. I had to learn so many new administrations and teachers and rules and cultures, and my kids had to go through that too. Sure, you can criticize me and say I could have planned better with my after-school schedule, but I'm not alone in this. What I'd ask you all to do is just take a step back, think about the legacy you are all going to leave for this community. Are you going to be remembered as people who made the tough choice and consolidate the schools? Or are you going to be the people that they're going to remember 20 years from now saying they took a half measure and now we're back where we started again? So please think about that. Thank you for your time, and thank you for all the work that you've done on this.
Thank you. Anyone else from the public that would like to state their opinion or comment?
Now I guess the rest of the story. My name is George Allen. I live at 7 Stonehenge Drive. And full disclosure, as I've said at all the other public meetings, my wife Diane Allen is on the Permanent Building Committee, and as such, she's on this committee. She's been on the Building Committee for many years. And first of all, let me thank you all for the time and effort that you put into this. I appreciate it. I know you've been doing it for 2 years. You've got some tough decisions to make. I've been on the board and still am on a board for over 20 years, okay? So I know what it takes to make decisions. And I know sometimes sitting in that little circle, square circle, if you will, you have to make tough decisions. So I appreciate that, and I thank you for that. That being said, I'd like to take a little trip down memory lane, if we might. This all started with an oil spill at the Wildwood School, if you recall. Then we went through a period where we were looking for immediate solutions, temporary solutions, and it included mobile classrooms, $12 million, mobile classrooms. The town came through and came up with a solution, and by the way, there were 16 options before, and none of them were selected. The town came up with the option to put the kids into the middle school. Why? Because we have room in the middle school, just like we have room in this beautiful school, okay? So they put them in the middle school, and from what I can hear, they've adapted well and things are going well. I took a look at the submittal for the SOI, as it's called, for 2020. And it was submitted for 6 schools, as we know. And then in March of 22, special town meeting appropriated $1.2 million for this project. So here we are now. So did a little research on the town's website. This is from, what did I do with my glass? This is from the SOI for Wildwood School. I just wanted to read a couple of phrases. I hope I get into 3 minutes here. So it says, prepare a brief summary of the plan, including its goals and how a facility is the subject of this NOI meets that plan. So it refers to this document, the Master Facilities Plan. And you've heard a lot of talk about it at various meetings, and I've commented on it at various meetings. It refers to this document. This entire paragraph refers to the Master Facilities Plan. Then there's a question, does the district have a master educational plan that includes facility goals for this building and all buildings in the district?
Thank you, sir.
Answer,
Your
no.
time has elapsed. Thank you. Any other comments?
Good evening. I'm Sarah Sheehan, 29 Marcus Road. My son was at the Wildwood the year that it closed, in Ms. Hollorn's class, actually. And he had to be shuttled off to the Shawsheen, and he had to do the last few months of his kindergarten year there. And it was very disruptive, I think. And the kids now are at the middle school, and yes, maybe they're doing okay there. They deserve a space for themselves. They do. As do all the other pre-K to 5th graders on the north side of town. They deserve that. They need a place where they can learn. Our educators need a place where they can teach. They need something better than what they have now. It was the Wildwood last time. Which school is next? What if the north floods? What are we going to do with all those students? What if something happens at the Woburn Street? Where are we going to put them all? We need a new space. We need this, okay? It is every single beautiful reason that was up on that screen. The support is overwhelming in your surveys in this room. I really hope that you can all look at what our community really needs. We will figure this out. We will make this work. This is what we want. This is what our families want. And I really think it's what we need to do. It's really the right move. And my son, he'll be in middle school. By the time this new school is built, we won't benefit. I don't have younger children. But I still think this is absolutely the right thing to do for our town. Thank you so much for your time.
Good evening, everybody. Jesse Fenley, 45 Andover Street. I also have the good fortune to be a member of and current chair of the school committee, but like my colleagues here as a resident and a parent of two boys who went through the Wildwood, the Woburn Street, and the North, and are now at the middle school, and apologize to the back row for talking to the back of your heads, but first, to the previous speaker, thank you all for your time, your effort, your dedication. I mean, dozens of meetings, hundreds if not thousands of hours in this project, so, you know, thank you for your dedication to this project. I'm here this evening to urge you to support the pre-K to 5 new at the North Intermediate site. I won't go through the reasons because you've heard them all before, but I will say that operating one building as opposed to 3 is more efficient for the town, more efficient for our transportation system, and easier to coordinate for parents and guardians. Financially, which I know is a concern, this project, compared to the others, will cost less in the long run than the other options. Educationally, this facility will provide students and educators in this district access to educationally appropriate learning spaces while dramatically improving accessibility for special education students, something that all of our older facilities are lacking. And finally, this facility will have significant improvements in the safety and security features necessary to ensure we can protect our students and our staff. With that, my ask, my suggestion, my recommendation, trust the experts. We're building a new senior center in town, and what did we do? We formed a building committee, we hired an OPM and a designer, we interviewed the experts, senior center director, the seniors who are going to use the building. We listened to their feedback, we designed, and now we're building a building. Same process with the new town hall building. I'm asking you now, trust the experts. You've met with the superintendent, you've met with the central office team, you've heard from the educators. Everybody favors this facility. Please listen to the folks who are going to benefit from this building. And sorry, I'm not used to being on this side of things. So, in closing.
30 seconds.
Thanks, David. In closing, overwhelmingly, the educators and administrators favor this option. The school committee unanimously supports this option. Several members of the finance committee and select board have voiced their support for this project, and the residents of town overwhelmingly support this option. Please support the pre-K to 5 new at the North and give students, families, educators, and residents the building they deserve. Thank you.
At this moment, we'll also recognize a member from the community, Miss Susan Kroll, on virtually if she would like to make a public statement.
Thank you. Can you hear me okay?
Yes. Please state your name and address.
My name is Suzanne Kroll, 21 Blueberry Lane. I'm currently an educator at the Woburn Street School. I was also born and raised in Wilmington. And when I attended the Woburn Street, at the time it was a kindergarten through 5 building. So although this would be a huge change right now, it has certainly been in Wilmington's history and past. I also wanted to note, I was thinking the same things Mr. Fennelly was, how the educators, administrators, school committee, and many parents all seem to be in favor of a new pre-K to 5 building, as I also am in favor of that option. We know our students and what our students need. I'm asking the committee to trust what we would like to see move forward, since the school buildings are our second homes as educators. I have faith and confidence the town manager and financial team can make that happen. One other note I have is that my own children no longer attend the elementary schools, they're at the middle school. And thanks to the administrators at the middle school who are accommodating to make room for the Wildwood students, it is a short-term fix. But my own children say too how some of their teachers are traveling from classroom to classroom, especially the foreign language teachers. So I just want to point out that I think it is a short-term fix, but not a long-term solution. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Any other members from the community?
Good evening, everyone. Stacy Benoit, 40 Hanover Street. I am also a teacher at the middle school. I have attended all of these schools, and actually several schools that don't even exist anymore here in Wilmington, because we were all neighborhood schools. A couple things I wanted to say. I wanted to say that obviously it's disappointing we're in this situation, but we're in it, and it's time to fix it, right? I am living in the home I grew up in simply because my parents passed away, and that's how I afford to be in this community. But I love this community. I have worked at the middle school for 27 years. I started off at the North, actually in Amy Iascone's classroom. And, you know, we had chalkboards, right? That's all we had, and we made it work. And it was difficult. But with education today, to give you the best students and to help you raise your children, because we have them all day, we need the support. My kids are in college, right? This does not affect me. Right? I have a niece who is at the Woburn Street, at the North, again. This is not gonna affect me long term. Financially, yes, but I'm willing to. Right? I also work for the athletic department, so I am working 2 jobs to make ends meet. But I know how important this is to our community. We need the teachers to be able to access modern technology in order to help your children. And our children are worth it, right? And I do believe that the K through 5 at the North is obviously the best solution to what our situation is today. And just for those of us who have been born, bred, and raised in town, right, it's important that we continue to love our community. And the best way to love our community is to put our money where our mouth is. And if we want to be the best, then we have to give the teachers and the students and the families the best in order to be successful. So, and sorry, I just wanted to add, sorry I'm adding one more. And, you know, I would like to say one of the things that your staff does do for you is that we did embrace the Wildwood, and it is difficult for us. We lost a lot of space, but we're making it work because it's important that those students feel safe in that community and in our building. But it is not a long-term solution, and it's been difficult. But guess what? We're not complaining, we just do it. And I think it's important that everyone realizes that we are all now traveling. We are all sharing. Things are packed in, but we were willing to do it because we knew that there was something better in the future. So please, give our kids the best. Thank you.
If there's no other public comments, we'd like to turn it over to the discussion to the committee.
Madam Chair, can I just say something? This committee is voting on the preferred option. This still has to go through a special town meeting, and it still has to go to the ballot box where every resident votes on it. I just want to clarify that, because it seems like getting to the point that like we're the end-all be-all, and that's not true. We are just voting on a preferred option. This has multiple steps to go through before it is approved.
Thank you.
Madam Vice Chair, and to that, I think that's a great point, Mary Ann. I mean, that is the elephant in the room, right? It's like, what can be passed? But I think it's like an act of faith to a lot of a degree. You know, we can look around here, there's all these great folks here. We can look at the survey results, which I think show an overwhelming signal that the town, which more respondents than any Dora Whittier had seen, want pre-K through 5 new, which is what I also want, because now we're in that stage of the conversation, so we can say that. But I will say that, yeah, it's to some degree an act of faith that we have to believe that our fellow citizens are going to look at the facts that we have been considering now, some of us for years, and agree with that conclusion. And I believe, really strongly, that we can absolutely pass this at both of those thresholds. I really do, because of the support in the room, because of the way the survey has come out and because the facts in the pro case for a new pre-K through 5 school at the North Intermediate site are overwhelming when considered in totality. So I think, you know, those of us who are worried about it being passable, I think we can have a lot of faith that we can do this. Thank you.
Madam Vice Chair.
Yes.
So I just wanted to bring up, there was a question from the public before we had public comment regarding the current status of the debt exclusion for the high school, and I did want to just respond to that, which is that is due to be paid off in 2037. It is also in a declining debt, so right now it's a little over $2 million. In 2037, the last payment I think is going to be about $1.4 million, but that's just to provide that information to the folks who are asking.
Thank you. As I stated earlier, I do want to hear from every committee member and respectfully ask every committee member to share their opinions and to share their thoughts as we embark on this decision. So, Diane, please do start.
Well, my first question was, what will be the vote protocol for tonight? In other words, are we going to go through all of the options, every single one, or is there just going to be a motion and whatever that motion is, if it's carried?
I believe we've gone through all of the options thus far. We've had repeated meetings and opportunities to look at the options, to understand them fully, as well as understand the survey results and all the other efforts to garner public opinion. And at this time, if others feel the same, I don't feel that we need to review every option once again. We could definitely have it up on the board as a reminder for all. But I would like to start with understanding where each committee member stands as far as the options go.
Well, I, like all of you here, have given a lot of thought to the options that we need to make a decision on tonight, and I've listened to a lot of the public forums and seen the results. I believe the original intent of the article at the special town meeting on March 8th was to address the Wildwood School only. It was not a pre-K to 5 project, and that only helps half of the elementary school population. And that is not what I would consider educational or geographically equity. My other reason for my vote is for the concerns of the senior population. I was at the presentation at the Senior Center on September 19th, and I know some of you were there also. It was very well attended, and they were very vocal about the significant impact of the pre-K to 5 school would have on their taxes and their budgets. In fact, they asked if there was some tax relief program for them. And we have a very large senior population in this town, and most only became aware of the magnitude of this project this summer. You know, so I am unfortunately not in favor of the pre-K to 5. I would support a Wildwood School site, a new pre-K to K, and that is my recommendation after listening to the people that I have been in touch with.
Thank you.
Okay?
Others? Do you have concern?
Yeah, I'll go. This is not an easy decision. I just want everybody to understand that. I mean, we heard some pretty powerful comments this evening. Someone saying that I love my community, so be for it, or the students are worth it, so be for it. I love my community too. I volunteer a lot of time to this community. I was born and raised here. I went through the schools. As a matter of fact, I'm a proud member of the first class that went to the Shawsheen Elementary. But, you know, we want to give our kids the best. Make no mistake about it. Everybody wants to do that. Whether you're for a pre-K to 5 or for a pre-K to K, I hope everybody has an understanding that just because someone is supportive or not supportive of a particular, that we still all want the best. Someone mentioned that everybody's in favor of it. Well, I went to the senior center presentation, and not everybody is in favor of it. There are a lot of concerns for the residents of Wilmington. And I too, you know, I walk down Market Basket the best I can because I need a new hip replacement and it's hard for me to walk and stand, but people grab you and they give their opinion. And there's a little underlying flow that I feel that it's not going to be easy. Now, Mary Ann mentioned that there's a town meeting that we have to jump over that hurdle. I believe it's a 2/3 vote. That's not an easy task, but even if it goes through, now you're going to a debt exclusion vote. You're going into the ballot box. Some people refer to it as an override, but it's different than an override, right? But it still means 30 years of a tax increase. And then it was mentioned it's the north side of town. Well, what about the other side of town? I don't like this side versus that side. We're all one. You know, we're all Wilmington, right? But it's not going to be just the pre-K to 5 at the North Intermediate. It's going to be another pre-K to 5 at the Shawsheen School. And it's not going to be just $240 million. It's going to be $500 million. And we need to put this all into perspective, right? We all want a brand new school, but we want it to pass. We don't want to, I mean, I guess you're willing to take a chance, and if you lose at the ballot box, then we're going to be bumped out of the MSBA. If you go for a lesser option, if you go for a pre-K to 3, and then you get right back into the system for an addition and renovation to the Shawsheen, it would be like a brand new school. You would be able to get 2 schools for nearly the cost of 1. I'm trying to look at the big picture here, and I'm trying to take into consideration the tax implications to the residents of this community. Thank you. It's a difficult decision for these individuals to take, but as it was said, it's one step. I just think that I love my community and I love the kids and I want to do the best for them. But looking at the big picture, I want a brand new elementary school and I want it to pass. And I think the way to go is 2 pre-K to 3s rather than 1 pre-K to 5. I know some of you may be shaking your heads, but you know, the North Intermediate has put in, the taxpayers paid for new windows and a roof. The West Intermediate's going to be doing the same renovations. I applaud the teachers. It's the teachers that teach the kids. I understand that the 4 walls may be tired, but you know, yeoman work that these teachers do for our kids and I get it. you know, you're doing things in the hall and in the closet. I think I said at the last meeting, when I went to the Boutwell, I had played the saxophone, believe it or not, and our lessons were in the boiler room.
Mine too.
So, that's not saying that that's right. It's not right. And it's not right that the kids are in closets or in the hallways. But I'm trying to get to where we can get two new elementary schools. That's where I'm at. So that's my
Thank you, Mr.
comment.
Kyra. Just as a point of reference also, that if we do enter back into the MSBA program, it is not guaranteed that we would be entering. And even if we submitted a statement of interest yet again for another, if we did it today, that doesn't guarantee that we would be entering anytime soon.
I understand that.
No, and I just want to make sure that everybody else understands that we have a rare opportunity here, whatever our selection is, whatever our choice is tonight, that we have a rare opportunity to engage with the MSBA, to allow for them to grant us permission to enter into the program, as well as support us financially for this decision, and it shouldn't be taken lightly or for granted. Yes.
Thank you. First of all, thank you everyone who has been serving on this committee. I appreciate all of your time and energy. I appreciate all the responses we've gotten in the various forums and in the room tonight. At the heart of there are two key drivers at the heart of this topic. One is doing what's best for future generations of Wilmington students, making sure they have the best education and the best environment for learning. The other is doing what is most responsible for the finances of the town and specifically the taxpayers. Fundamentally, if we were to take an approach of doing two pre-K through 3 schools and repair and renovate for educationally appropriate 4 through 5, it would be massively more expensive than 2 new buildings, to the example given. Yes, we need to think forward, and yes, this is a long-term decision. But do we want to spend on 4 building projects over 30 years or 2 building projects over 15 to 16? There is no scenario in which the taxpayers will not pay more if we do more projects. The less projects, it will be fiscally responsible for the town. And it's incumbent on us, if we pass tonight, pre-K through 5, to convince the taxpayers of that fact. We have to convince them of that. It is part of our job as the people advocating for this sort of a project, advocating for this sort of approach, to help them understand that if they vote no, it will cost more. There's not a scenario where voting no costs less. There's not a scenario in which doing pre-K through 3 is cheaper for any taxpayer in this town. Now, why do I support a pre-K through 5 north at the north site? For the children, to have modern, safe, functional education spaces. For the town, we need to be efficient with our building projects. The longer we take addressing our building needs, the more it will cost. For the staff, we need to provide them with the best possible working environment. As teachers, their working environment is our students' learning environment. For our children, those with special needs, we have legal and moral obligations to provide them with appropriate spaces. Spaces we struggle to provide in now in our buildings as they exist. For our children, we need to reduce the many transitions that distract from learning and cause emotional distress. For the town, a quality new school building will enhance the resale value of our homes and attract new businesses to town. For the staff, a quality new building will attract teachers to apply to work here. For the children, we need to provide a modern building that facilitates learning, does not distract with leaks and heating issues, etc. For the children, we need to provide the spaces for all learning needs. Full classroom, small group, and individual instructions. This is modern education. It's not a one-size-fits-all cinder block room. For the town, to maximize the financial benefit of the MSBA process, the state will provide millions of dollars towards a new building, and there's no guarantee we'll be admitted again, ever. For the staff, to reduce the staff time spent in cars, moving from building to building, time when they should be with students. For the children, to provide the spaces for modern curriculum such as STEM. For the children to take the opportunity to address the educational needs of as many students as quickly as possible. For the town, all of the town, a single project will be less expensive than multiple projects. It will save taxpayer money. A single project is that key solution. For the staff, the overwhelming support. We've seen it from the multiple schools favor pre-K through 5 at North. For the parents who we've surveyed, the overwhelmingly support pre-K through 5 at the North. A new pre-K through 5 at the North. It's for the children, for the children, for the children, and for the future of our children and our town. We should do this. Thank you.
Christine.
David, did you have your hand raised first?
I did before. I'll go after you.
Okay. I've been in Wilmington 6 years, and for many years prior to moving here, I was well aware of the legacy that Wilmington had, which was the appeal to families. So it is not lost on me that this project is for the families. I think we have an opportunity here to be leaders, and we have the ability to do difficult things. And this is difficult, but we can do this together. Of the many hats that I wear, 2 of them that speak to my vote tonight. One is I have a background in finance in corporate America, and specifically I've done long-term planning, and the finances on this project just make the most sense to me to choose the pre-K-5 option. I'm also a disability advocate, having been on the board of the Easter Seals and within the disability community. And I know that we need this option in order to fully support children with all abilities. We cannot meet the needs of our disabled community right now, and that's not fair to anybody. So I'm completely supportive of the pre-K through 5 option. Thank you.
I appreciate the public and all of your support in our meeting, but if you wouldn't mind refraining from applause, it'd be greatly appreciated.
Thank you. I'd like to just start by stating something that I very strongly agree with that Mr. Kyra spoke of earlier, which is that one thing for certain that this vote is not about is who loves the community more, who cares more about the kids. We are all here because we care about the community and the kids. That's why we're volunteering our time on this project. And I don't think there is any vote that could be taken here that would, there's no vote that means that you care more. And I think that that's an important thing that we should all think about. It's not possible to make a choice that is going to equally please everyone. But I hope that people understand that even if we don't vote the way they preferred, that it's not because we didn't listen, and not because their concerns were dismissed or ignored. It's simply that a choice has to be made, and we're going to make it the best we can after a lot of listening and a lot of discussion and an awful lot of careful consideration. And I hope that people understand and believe that even if they disagree with us, that we are making a good faith decision about what we believe is best for the town of Wilmington. There are no perfect solutions in life, there are only trade-offs, and each one of the options that we have in front of us has different trade-offs. In my judgment, the pre-K through 5 option is the best set of trade-offs of the options that we have before us. The problem fundamentally that we're trying to solve is that we have 6 aging elementary schools, and this project can't solve the entire problem, but the pre-K through 5 option solves more of it faster than anything else. And I'm not going to go through many of the reasons, many of the benefits of the consolidation. I think we've gone over that so many times. Mr. Turner gave a long list of so many of those options. I think that we haven't heard very much that contradicts the idea that the pre-K through 5 option is the best educationally and operationally for the town. And we knew all of that in August. So we had all of that information. We've known that for a long time. What we didn't know in August, what we didn't have was the confidence that we had done quite enough outreach and gotten enough public input. But I think that given the additional outreach that we've had between then and now, and also, even Doran Witter's comment that they've never been in a community that has received more comments and more input. I think it would be unfair to say that we don't have as clear a signal as could reasonably asked for of what the town wants for this project. And I think that that also speaks to taking this project to town meeting and then taking it to the debt exclusion vote. We have a really clear signal from our residents of the support for that option and what they are looking for in this project. And mostly I'm trying to think long-term. Many of us are, obviously, because I think a failure to do that is how we got here. That Wilmington kicked the can down the road too many times, and the bill has come due, and it always will. So we can pay, admittedly, a lot of money now, but with tens of millions of dollars in state support. Or we can pay what will certainly be more later, with state support just a question mark as we sit here today. So I think it would be irresponsible not to maximize the MSBA dollars we have access to right now to offset the cost of this school construction. And I really don't want to be looking back in 10 years with regret and think that we kicked the can down the road again instead of acting.
Thank you. Mr. Brundle?
Thank you, Madam Vice Chair. I don't want to make light of the situation at all, but I would like to maybe put some people at ease as I look around the room here. Just one man's opinion. I'm looking at north of 13, 14 votes for a pre-K to 5. So hopefully that puts some people at ease here as we get started. But I think I agree with a lot of the comments that have been made. There's been some great public comment here tonight and all the feedback that we've got. You know, I'm really proud, first of all, obviously, to have served with all of you in this effort. And I think obviously we may disagree on a preferred option this evening, but we're all, as I said the last meeting, I think we're unanimous in the fact that we all want to support a new school. So I'm really proud of that fact. I'm also proud of the fact that in 2019, November of 2019, the Board of Selectmen kicked this off with this school committee to develop the SOIs, unanimous vote of the board. I was really proud to stand up at the town meeting at the Shriners and offer the motion to build a new Wildwood, because I think that at the time that was really what we needed. You know, I think back to, we're sharing a lot of background stories, so I might as well share mine. I can remember my earliest dreams of becoming a teacher myself started in my mother's classroom on the 3rd floor of the Woburn Street and the North, where as a little boy helped her set up her classroom every summer. And that's where my dream began. So I really appreciate all my fellow educators that are here and the work that they do. I find myself conflicted, to be completely honest with everybody here. I think I look at this screen and I see a lot of good options. I think you could make an argument for all of them. I think you could make arguments against each one of them. So it's a really hard thing to decide, and so I recognize that this is not an easy vote for anybody. I'm not necessarily opposed to consolidation. You know, I thought we set out on this journey to build a new Wildwood, and along the way that journey evolved. And so, you know, I see a number of options up there that I could support. There's others that I don't prefer. And so, you know, I'm trying to look at some of the positives. Tonight we're going to come out with a new school, finally, after all this time. We're going to come out with a new school option, and I hope that the whole community will rally around it. I also look at other potential positives that could come out of this. We might all of a sudden unlock finally our North Fire Station location out of this all, and that would be a positive as well. So it is a very difficult decision. I appreciate everybody's efforts here, and then I look forward to the vote.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Vice Chair. I'll take this opportunity to add to what Greg said, because I think I share some of the same concerns with him, that I haven't been fully set on one decision. I can see multiple options. I think I'll speak more to the bigger picture, that if we go pre-K to 5, the supporters, obviously the biggest project right now comes with addressing the most schools comes with the biggest cost. So the supporters, the biggest cheerleaders of that project will need to consider some things to help move that forward and ensure success both at town meeting and in the ballot box. The first one, come up with a plan for what you see the other side of the town would be. Carter Lane's about 40 acres, but there's 3 schools there. There's some wetlands, wet areas nearby. The Shawshene site's about 20 acres, but it's also, I think, the largest green space the town has where soccer's held every single week. So there needs to be some here's what we see as the vision on the other side. It might not be this committee's task, but someone needs to take that effort on. The second one, the green space. The north site is probably the third largest green space in town. You know, Town Hall has a huge site. Shawsheen has a huge site. If that large green space is going away, it's used frequently between soccer and baseball. Advocate to the reuse committee that the 2 other school sites remain, either become athletic fields at Woburn Street. I should say, keep the athletic fields at Woburn Street, and at the Wildwood site, turn that into an athletic field. And then really, the third item, I think, is really break into the costs to repair and simplify items. As I talked with Dennis at times, everything that the buildings department does is difficult to repair a current school because everything can only be done over an 8 to 12 week period in the summer. In the design construction field, they're called summer slammers. You get in, you do work, you get out. You don't have more time. The kids show up. That makes it really hard to renovate and do work to existing schools. To some degree, that's why you're here overall. So that simplify the discussion for why that's very difficult to do and take a little deeper dive into the costs. We talk about repair costs. I've sat and looked at some. I don't think some of the schools are as much money as it shows, but as you start breaking those down into small projects, it could be. And I think lastly, whatever the decision this committee makes, and I say this as a design professional, we make smart design decisions. We consider everything has a cost, and we look at what we include in the preferred option with an eye towards its final construction costs and complexity.
Thank you. Dennis?
You know, I've been on this committee now for 10 months approximately, and I appreciate all the work people did before that. We talk about consolidation. I wish it was consolidation of an entire town, pre-K through 2, or 3, 4, and 5, because I think then you get the benefit of all the community getting the same education across the board. This way, half the town gets a new school, and I don't think that's fair to the other half of town. And the experts have said, we may not get back into the program again. So we could have the values of properties be different on each side of the town for the exact same house because the new school's on one side. So the real estate could change numbers based on, is there a problem?
No.
Oh. So the real estate could change numbers depending on your neighborhood and the school you're in. So all these things you have to consider, and like Michael and I have had conversations. I've worked for the town for 11 years now, and over that 11 years, we had scheduled projects and buildings, and we moved them out to try to make decisions. Finally, tonight, we're here to make decisions to build a new school or eliminate schools. But every time we kick the can down the road, as David would say, we've moved out repairs. Because before you put a $3 million project into the Woburn Street, are we tearing it down in 5 years? So those are some of the decisions that have put us where we are today in these buildings. But I do wish it was a different plan, and it was a town-wide consolidation. But, you know, those are some of the things we have to keep in mind when we make this decision tonight.
Thank you. Yes.
Just as somebody who works in the field of upgrading, repairing, aging infrastructure, aging buildings, this is what I do constantly. Buildings fail. Nobody wants to put a new roof on their house or upgrade their furnace or anything. But when you don't address the problems, they start spiraling or snowballing to other systems. Repairing doesn't always work because you're shoehorning a new HVAC into a building that may not work with the existing infrastructure. We learned a lot more about how buildings function and efficiency over the past 30, 40 years. It's constantly evolving. And I think we have a good opportunity now to use the funding from MASBA to proceed. And I think it's better to spend $100 now rather than $75 now and then $75 10 years from now. I think bundling everything together is the smart move.
Yes.
Madam Chair, could I go next?
There's someone that raised their hand prior, so
okay,
after.
my apologies, sure.
Thank you. I just want to say I appreciate all of you in this room tonight and your passion and love for education in the community. I appreciate all of my colleagues here and your commitment. to our town. This is the hardest vote I've ever taken in all my years on the Permanent Building Committee. I can't overlook the scores of people who commented about the taxes and the tax rate. And my statement might not be popular tonight, but I stand here in support of the pre-K new school option at the Wildwood site in the north side of town. I support the option not because it's less expensive, but because it's more responsible. The size and cost of the option we choose tonight will set the stage for what's going to be expected in the way of improvements on the west side of town. There will be a demand for parity, whether or not MSBA is available to us or not. While I recognize that some of the other options presented have great merit, they go beyond the original task at hand, the reopening or the replacement of the Wildwood School. That was the original task at hand. Other proposals would close and demolish schools like the North Intermediate, which has benefited from significant capital improvements and is in the best condition of all the schools on the north side of town. While these options would offer an ideal solution for half the town, they come with substantial financial implications that we simply cannot overlook in uncertain economic times that we live in today. It's important to acknowledge that the cost of the option we vote on tonight will greatly influence the ability of people to live and raise families in this town affordably. The last thing we should be doing is creating a situation where any resident is forced out of town because it costs too much to live here. Wilmington is already grappling with the unfortunate reality that many lifelong residents are priced out of the community they've called home for decades. What do we say to our longtime neighbors who've contributed so much to this town? We must be thoughtful and deliberate in our decision tonight, and I believe that prioritizing the replacement of the closed Wildwood School, resolving the original problem, is not only the most fiscally responsible choice, but it will also be the most viable choice when we ask Wilmington residents to support this project. This option addresses the immediate need for a new school in the north without overextending our financial resources or imposing undue burden on taxpayers. It also allows us to realize the return on our investment in schools that are in good shape, like the North Intermediate. I want to make it clear that my support for this option doesn't come from a place of being anti-school or anti-education. I value education in our schools deeply, and I believe in investing in the future of our children, as evidenced by my 30-plus years on the Permanent Building Committee that has resulted in the construction of a new middle school and a new high school. But as always, in my committee deliberations, I must consider the broader impact to residents, principally those living paycheck to paycheck. Given the current economic climate, the option to replace the Wildwood School is not only practical, but it ensures that we can move forward in a way that balances educational needs with the financial well-being of our neighbors, while leaving the door open to reasonable future school improvements on the west side of town.
Thank you.
Hey, Dr. Brown.
Dr. Brand? Dr. Brand?
He's coming.
He fainted.
Yes, I'm here. Thank you, everyone. First, I want to echo many of the words of committee members earlier this evening with a thank you to the Public Relations and Outreach Working Group. And equally important, all of the members of this committee for all of your time over the last good number of months and years for many of you. Certainly your commitment to this project and ultimately your commitment to our educators, our students, and our families is certainly to be commended. And I thank you for that as the superintendent of schools. My role as the steward of the school system is to identify what I believe is the best option educationally to support teaching and learning in the district. That belief centers around school consolidation, and given our particular situation as a school district, as a consolidation project that we'll realize in a pre-K to 5 school. From an educational standpoint, the ability to provide...
No.
Yep.
Let's give a moment. He might be able to reconnect.
Do you want to take someone else while we're waiting for him to
Yes. Sure.
So I think, as other members of the committee have mentioned, you know, we all sit around this table with a different perspective, and that is why, that's the beauty of committee work, right? That's why we all were invited to sit at this table, because we have a valuable perspective to contribute, whatever that perspective may be. And those perspectives may drive us to stand behind a different choice, and that's okay. That is how this is supposed to work. That said, my perspective is educational. I need to consider what is best educationally for the students that I serve. The staff, yes. The administration, myself, yes. But at the heart of it, it is about children and families. For that reason, I personally support the pre-K to 5 option at the North. Every day, I see students that struggle and can immediately see how it would be easier, how they could be better supported, how we could work more collaboratively were that our current situation. I will also say I don't think anyone at the table other than Christine has more at stake in terms of ensuring that whatever project we choose is one that is viable. We are standing every day, we are living in a very challenging situation. We do not have a school building. I can't count for you the number of times that I literally run across Carter Lane through the middle of the road every single day. We put smiles on our faces. We make it work. It is not easy. It is difficult, and it is not a long-term solution. Yes, I want to do everything I can to make sure whatever choice we make tonight is passed. That said, I still believe the right decision is pre-K to 5 because it is what is best for students. When we stand in front of children who struggle, who would benefit from long-term relationships with teachers that they cannot maintain because they are in a new space, when you hear from first grade teachers with students that are having difficulty there and wish they could reconnect with their kindergarten teachers that they cannot because we are physically across town, it just speaks to me of the power and importance of that continuity for children and for families. So that's sort of what has driven my decision.
Thank you. Please refrain. Thank you. Marianne.
So I think everybody at this table wants to get behind something that is going to pass the ballot box. That's the ultimate goal here. And to Paul's comments, there is a lot of comments in those surveys about the taxes. Cannot be ignored. And to Mr. Turner's comment that you need to convince people that's the option. Some people you cannot afford it, so you cannot convince them. That's the problem. You're talking about $1,000 tax override for the school, and people can't afford it. I have numerous people who have told me that, and they will vote this down at the ballot box. We need to be smart. We need to get behind something that's going to pass, and we need not to squander away MSBA grant money. I can't support a pre-K through 5 at this point. I don't think economically it's going to pass. There has been numerous schools that have gone down at the ballot box throughout Massachusetts in the past year. I think everybody wants something that we can get behind, that the taxpayers of this community can get behind, and we can get a new school.
Thank you. At this time, I'd like to recognize Stacy Scott, who is on virtually.
Thank you. So, mine's pretty short and sweet. I am in support of the pre-K to 5 building. I don't have a stake in it as far as taxes or anything. I'm not a resident. However, being the principal of the Wildwood School School, we live in it. We see the transitions. I echo what Kate said. The transitions are really hard for the kindergartners coming into first grade, not having any adults in the building that they can go to for the struggle when they're transitioning. Same thing with my third graders going to the north for fourth grade. that struggle and that anxiety moving from school to school, it's really prevalent nowadays with our students, and we're really seeing that social emotional aspect within our buildings. It's really affecting them, and the transition is just immense. Not to mention that we have a hard time right now building relationships with families because every few years they're moving on to another building, and it's not really fair to them either to make that connection and feel like home. A pre-K to 5 building would allow us to make a better community, to be a stronger community as well within the building. Not to mention the building itself, it's maintained, but on a beautiful 70-degree day outside, some of my sea-level classrooms are in the high 80 degrees, so it's really hard for my teachers to be teaching within their classrooms on those days, and for the students really to be their best selves and focusing because of the heat within the classroom. We have fans going all the time, which makes it hard sometimes for some of our students to hear the content as well. And in spaces, we're so tight on spaces. I have interventionists sharing spaces. My special ed teachers are all in one room, and it's separated by cubicles. So we have 4 different grade levels, 4 different groups being seen at once within one room, which really isn't the best option for our students. And I think that we need a pre-K 5 students to have more spaces for that learning to be happening.
Thank you. Dr. Brand, I hear you're back.
Oh, we can't hear you. Glenn, we can't hear you.
Until we resolve that technical difficulty, anybody else would like to share? I'd like to hear from all committee members, so
Don't be shy.
don't be shy.
All right,
Yes,
I'll jump in
sure.
just with a couple of comments. Sorry, do you want to go?
No, go ahead.
Just a couple of comments. I see this as a privilege being a part of this committee. It's been a lot of hours, but the discussions have been very productive. I'm just a parent, and I don't mean that in a pejorative sense. I am a parent. That's my role here. I'm not on any other committees. I'm not any school committees. My youngest is at the Wildwood right now at the middle school. Probably won't see any of this new school personally for us as a family. I think my one comment will be that I view this, what we've done so far, as, all the surveys and the public outreach and things like that, as seeing what the public wants. And I respect the comments of the taxpayers. I'm a taxpayer myself, obviously. I certainly want to support something that's going to pass at the ballot box. But I'm trying not to let that impact my decision. We've asked for feedback. We've received it. It's been continually supportive of pre-K to 5. We shouldn't, at least for me, my focus is not on what's going to pass at the ballot box. That's not what we've been charged with. That's not how I view what we've been charged with. We've been charged with getting the feedback of what the public wants. If it passes, great. If it doesn't, it doesn't. But to sit here and vote for an option that goes against what the public seems to want, I feel is a disservice personally. And again, I feel like our charge has been to vote on what the survey results show, not what we think is going to happen a year or 9 months from now, whenever these this town meeting, whenever this special election, whatever we have to do as a town goes through. That's not what we've been asked to do here. It's to take the survey results that we've seen and vote on that. Thank you.
As the only educator at the table, I hold a high stake because I'm the one working with the kids. So when people say that, kids are learning in closets, they're learning in closets. We're not meeting the needs of a lot of our children because we don't have the room at the West and we don't have the room at the middle school. And I don't know why anybody in Wilmington would be okay saying my kindergarten child's going to a middle school for kindergarten. And like Kate said, this is not long-term for us. So yes, I've been in Wilmington. I love this community. I love the families. I've been blessed to be a teacher here for almost 30 years. But I've never been in a school that met the needs for the learners. And when I went to see these other schools, Kate kept saying to me, stop saying wow, because that's what I did. And I saw how the other half lived and what our children don't have. They don't have those STEM rooms, the technology. They had windows. They had windows. I've never worked in a classroom that I could see out of a window. I have to open a window to see if it's raining. So for me to see the breakout rooms, the large rooms, the cooling systems, the heating systems, all of those things that those teachers took for granted, I would really wish for the children of Wilmington, because we're not meeting their needs. We're trying really, really hard. Every teacher in all 3 of these buildings tries so hard to meet the needs, but we're not. We're not. And our kids are at a disservice. So I'm willing to take that K to 5 to vote for this community, because I think they will step up and they will give our kids what they need, because we need that K to 5 building. All the teachers need that building. So I think we need to put forward a pre to K-5 for Wilmington. And that's what they deserve.
Thank you. Dr. Brand, are you back?
I hope so. Thank goodness. Thank you for your patience. I won't repeat a lot of the sentiments that many have shared here by both the committee as well as those that have sent their comments to the committee. But I do want to acknowledge a couple of things as we look to make this decision as a committee tonight. It's understood that there is considerable concern around the tax impact on the community. Just setting aside for a moment the potential impact from the time to completion to bring into the fold not 1, potentially 2, but potentially 3 school communities almost instantly. The time to completion, the time to, as much as this project potentially will be, try and control those costs. And by control those costs, I mean not looking at this as a multi-phased project. I continuously think about the cost of the Wilmington High School when that price was locked in 2013. I forget the exact number, but I believe it was somewhere around $82 million. We talked at a number of times around cost escalation for projects. And I can't help but shudder at the fact of how much the Wilmington High School might cost if we were sitting here today and to be contemplating the same size project that the high school is. I haven't calculated those exact numbers. I know our friends with Dora Whittier could, but it would be certainly far in excess of $70 or $82 million. The points that were raised around the concerns around taxation for the community is real, and I certainly understand that. And I think that it's important, though, to note that one of the things that I have confidence in as much as we were able to, over the last number of months, provide a central focus on this story for those residents and community members to understand what this project was all about, why it was that we were considering school consolidation. I firmly believe that we can, over the course of the next 8, 10, perhaps 12 months, also make it crystal clear for the residents of the fact that, well, the potential project here certainly could be considerable, and it certainly will have an impact on taxation. The benefits that come from tackling these 3 projects now certainly will be beneficial for our students, for our families, and for staff to many years to come. You know my belief and my position as a superintendent of schools. From an educational basis, I believe that pre-K to 5 is the right choice for the project options that we have before us right now, and that is as the superintendent of schools. And I appreciate the differing views of this committee. I understand them. I certainly certainly recognize the difficulty that this decision holds for many of you. Again, I thank you for your consideration for what this project potentially can provide for the Wilmington Public Schools and our future in elementary education.
Thank you.
I'll say something. First of all, I want to thank everyone for serving on this committee. I know this is a very, very difficult decision. To be honest, I struggled with making a decision. I don't live in Wilmington, I'm not a resident. But knowing that ultimately the decision will be made at town meeting, at the ballot, and at the ballot box, I believe the best decision in the long run, educationally for the students and the staff of this community, is a pre-K to 5. I truly believe that.
Thank you. We still have a few members that have not voiced their opinions.
Also being an educator in this wonderful community for over 23 years, I feel passionately about the pre-K through 5 programming. Previously being a counselor in the district and just seeing the confidentiality and having to use other people's phones, not having walls in offices years ago, and here we are still in the same position, looking at service providers providing services, as we've heard in the hallway, to students with disabilities. Our programming is impacted by this decision. So when we look at specifically a population of students that is on the north side of town now, to keep them with their students, with their classrooms, with their staff, with familiar faces from pre-K through 5. It provides calming spaces for students. It provides the spaces that we need to support our most vulnerable students, but all of our students, as you mentioned earlier. It is my role to advocate for these students, and there are students in our community, so I appreciate everyone's support. I really valued sitting here and learning and listening to all your perspectives, and I do hear you. And I want you to know that, and I want everyone here to just make the best decision that they feel is appropriate, but I feel like I just have to share my views in advocating for the population of students that we serve.
Thank you.
So a lot of comments have been made, and I apologize to kind of be redundant. It's really hard to be succinct with there's so much going on. I'm speaking to you as your assistant town manager, but I wanted to just share 5-generation family, resident here, taxpayer. I don't have children. I have been a teacher. I've taught here in Wilmington in the middle school and the high school. I've had 18 years of local real estate experience. To know what education means to people that are buying homes, and what it means to families, and just how real estate value can impact a person or a family or a homeowner. So education is paramount in all of those areas. I served on the school committee, was on the select board, and now have an opportunity to work for the town. So I feel respectfully stated, I have a unique perspective because I've been in a lot of different areas. I've also been involved in the athletics and a lot of the community activities. So some of the things that have been brought up regarding all of these projects, I can say that in anything that I've been a part of, I didn't always get everything that I wanted. We have 2 big projects going on. I supported them wholeheartedly. They're not necessarily the scope and size of the location that I wanted, but I wanted to see us have a new town hall school admin, and I wanted to see us have a new senior center. So I too, with the school end of things, want to see us have a new school building. When I was on the school committee it goes back a while now, I started talking about finances, and I had people in the community say, please don't talk about education being a business. It's about the exchange of teachers and students, and I respect that. But also from the operational standpoint and the tax standpoint and the financial impact for all residents, not just seniors, not just people with children in school. Money is expensive, inflation is what it is, and I think we need to make some real prudent financial decisions. And when I look at the 3 options, I know it started out as a Wildwood initiative and it's evolved. I think the world's evolving to consolidation. You see corporations consolidating, hospitals consolidating, schools consolidating, because the cost of living is just so expensive in any quadrant that you look at. I think it makes fiscal sense to do that. I think we have a unique opportunity with MSBA. We've been in it once. We may not have this opportunity again. I think it's important that we capitalize on it, and we capitalize on it to the maximum extent that we can. We may not be invited to participate again. There are other communities that are trying to get into the program and have been declined, and there's no guarantee. I think now is the right time to maximize what we're able to get from the MSBA. The cost of this project is, or any of these projects, is only going to go up. When I looked at the Wildwood, I said, this is how it started, but to build a school of that size with all of the aging buildings that we have, I feel that there are many schools that would not be served if we just took a project of that small size. Respectfully stated, I'm not a fan of the Woburn Street site. 3.5 million alone is just being spent on retaining walls. It would be a private septic system that would have to be maintained for years to come. I'd rather see that money put towards a community gym of a bigger size or a bigger building footprint that more people could benefit from. And I understand that, if we pick one project over another, we're not going to serve the whole community. I will say that, in terms of kicking the can, I would just say overall, the town of Wilmington in the past 25 years has made some key building investments. We built a public safety building. We did a middle school. We did a new high school. We now have the 2 new projects that we talked about. So I would say that the town hasn't kicked the can in terms of building projects. We've just had a diversified allocation of how we chose to do those building projects. Schools will forever be a spend for this community. It is a generational spend. We will forever be improving and building in our schools. And we have done that year over year. We've had capital improvement budgets in our budget, anywhere from $1 to $5 million every year that we've put into our schools for capital improvements. If we did anything bigger to the size and magnitude that we're talking about, you would not have the taxes that you have right now, and you would not have the tax rate that you have right now. So we just have to be careful with some of the statements, because if we did a lot of those things in a very big way, we would have priced all of us out of the community. I've heard many people talk about seniors. Very, very important, such a beloved part of our community. I would venture to say that families that have 1, 2, 3 children and have all these activities are struggling cost-wise just to do everything that they can, even for the families that are vibrantly involved in the community. I think there are people that are going to vote for pre-K through 5 that truly probably can't afford it, but they feel that they're going to do what they think is best for the community. So I think we have to be aware that this is a very personal decision when you go to the ballot box as to how this sits with you and sits with your family. In terms of how we should proceed, I just can't support a Woburn Street site because I don't think it's the best site with elevation. I don't think it's the best piece of real estate to build a school of this magnitude. I do have concerns about the north in terms of the traffic patterns and just putting a lot in that space and how it's landlocked. But I think if I had to choose between the 3 locations, I can get into all the educational benefits, the consolidation, the special ed, offerings, but I'm not going to, elongate my comments. I feel if I had to choose between the 3, from a financial, educational, overall community, I would do the pre-K through 5, and I would do it with the larger gym, which I know is coming later on in the program. I think now is the time. The dollar you spend today is more important than the dollar that you spend tomorrow. I think that a senior or a struggling family that can't afford it today is not going to be able to afford it tomorrow. The price tag is only going to go up. The circumstances are going to become more difficult. And I understand that the concept of only serving one side of the community. We have to start somewhere. We made a decision to build a new high school before we built an elementary school. We made a decision to build a new high school before we did a town hall or a senior center. We have to prioritize our building, and some people may have differing opinions as to what buildings went first, but we made a choice to build the high school before elementary. So there's always going to be a priority order. I think this building, to do pre-K through 5, to bring one project online, the last project was 13 years ago, it was in 2011. If you look at the numbers for that, just for a statistical comparison, it was 82.68 million. The town share was $44.19 million. This is in 2011-13 range. And the average house price was $357,000 at that point, and it is now $683,000 and change. So the homeowner has benefited from appreciation on your asset, and I think, you know, we're all doing better for the appreciation of real estate in Wilmington. It's not going to solve every financial issue or concern that people have. Regarding field space, we've now taken on a long-term lease with Textron. That will be that will be an area for school activities and for athletics. So that's one piece. We have a growing need for cemetery space. We've already made that improvement for the town. The Wildwood site could be an extension of that. The Woburn Street site could also be something to discuss with the reuse committee for a fire substation. So we could get a new school that serves a maximum number of grades for this offering. Yes, we will have to look at something in other areas of town, and certainly that is a real thing, and I'm not denying that. But I think this is a way to bring a lot of features and benefits to the community in short order, which would serve our public in a very big way across various community needs, and bring a school that can serve a large population online sooner. We have to start somewhere. Someone needs to go first, and I do believe that this is the best decision. I do respect the fact that we may not be successful in a town meeting or a ballot box, but that's the risk you're going to take with any one of these options, and I think now is the time. So for me right now, that's my preferred option. Thank you.
Thank you. And at this time, I'd like to, sure.
Sorry.
Please.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Though I am the town manager, I also am one of the newest members of this committee. I really want to echo what a lot of people have said, appreciating everybody's time and effort that they've put into this entire process. This is a difficult, in my opinion, generational vote for the town to try and make a determination as to what the future of the educational opportunities for some of the children in town are going to look like for the next 30 or 40 years. The things that I found compelling about the information that I've gotten from folks here and from the surveys and from the information put together by our experts is the impact to the students over the course of, say, a 30-year loan. I did find it incredibly compelling that the pre-K through 5 impacted the most amount of kids over that 30 years and at the lowest cost per student. My concerns are the same concerns I think have been echoed by other folks here, which are, the tax implications. However, I think that there's not a project that's going to be approved here tonight that wouldn't have tax implications that are going to turn off a portion of the voters. I don't know if any of us know whether or not the difference between a pre-K through K at $30 a month to the average taxpayer or the average single-family homeowner is going to bring out more or less no votes than a $60 a month to the average taxpayer. I think there are folks who see a tax increase and they're going to say no, regardless of the amount of that tax increase. I want to echo what everyone I think here has said, which is they want a school project that passes. They want one that gets to the ballot box and is successful. And in that, I'm going to challenge the members of the committee and the members of the public who are here or are watching that we're in the preseason right now. This vote is the very beginning of the process. Marianne said it very well. We've got other much larger hurdles ahead. So regardless of how this vote goes and regardless of how this committee ends up choosing a preferred option, I would challenge everybody that we need to, as a community, commit to getting behind the option that the committee has chosen and making sure that we can push it across the goal line, because having obviously a very large community turnout here is great, and it only matters if we have a large turnout at the town meeting and a large turnout at the ballot box in support of those. So whether that's for a pre-K through K, a pre-K through 3, or a pre-K through 5, none of those options will pass unless the community gets behind them and gets out to your neighbors and convinces them why that's important for Wilmington. So again, I just want to echo kind of what folks have said. I appreciate everybody's work, and I challenge everybody to turn this into the beginning of a longer conversation about how we're going to improve Wilmington going forward.
Thank you. At this moment, I'd like to thank everybody for voicing their opinions and sharing their thoughts and their various perspectives that they bring to this committee. It is not an easy decision, I know that, and all of you have shared comments and reasonings and rationales on why, and on many stances, I share them all with you. I know that everyone here, regardless of the decision, whether you are for the option or not, will ultimately at the end support it because it is for one Wilmington and for all of us. We all live here, we love it here, and we want to stay here. With that, I would like to make a motion, hearing everybody's comments and somewhat identifying the majority of vote. I'd like to request someone to make a motion for the pre-K to 5 new at North Intermediate School site.
Madam Vice Chair, I'll make a motion for the committee to approve the pre-K through 5 new school option at the North Intermediate School site.
Madam Vice Chair, the agenda order, we have a correspondence slide item. Just to
Sure.
keep to this.
No,
Sorry,
absolutely,
No, that's
thank you
the
for
right
that.
way to go.
Is there any correspondence?
But also, there's a motion.
I will rescind the motion so that we can go over correspondence.
Thank you.
So in your packet that you received from the superintendent's office on Friday, or I'm sorry, it was on Thursday, you received some correspondence. We are not going to read them as we normally do not, but there were numerous emails that had come in on behalf of the project. We also received one this afternoon that was forwarded to you from the teachers at the North Intermediate School. So.
That was from, sorry, the Wildwood School.
Oh, I'm sorry, it was the Wildwood. I apologize.
Thank you. Now I'll ask for a committee member to make the motion for the option of a pre-K to 5 new at the North Intermediate School site.
Madam Vice Chair, I'll make the motion for the committee to approve a new pre-K through 5 school at the North Intermediate site.
Thank you.
Seconded.
I'll second.
Christine Pendergast, seconded.
Discussion?
Discussion? Yes.
Madam Vice Chair, so would imagine I can see how this vote will go, so I just want to add in that my preferred option is a pre-K to K or a K to 3.
Thank you. Any other discussions?
One item, just to kind of elaborate what I spoke before. I was torn. I will support pre-K to 5. However, again, as we've stressed, this is not the end. You need a, if you're in favor of this option, this is your preferred option, do all that legwork to convince everyone and also set up so that the next project to address the other half of town can happen with a vision of when, how, why.
Absolutely, and as a member of the Public Relations Working Group, I know that our work has just begun. All the effort that we have put thus far in not only the Fun on the 4th, as well as the Fall Fest, all of the surveys, the flyers, the comments, as well as the posts on social media is just the beginning. And now is where, after tonight's vote, is now where the real work begins, not only for this working group committee, as well as the committee as a whole, and the community at large. We need the support of everyone to make this project come to fruition. Yes.
Madam Vice Chair, just to add on to Mike's comment, I think part of that goal to get out into the community, I think we also need to work in some plans and ideas for what will happen with the Wildwood site and what will happen with the Woburn Street site. And I'm speaking purely from conversations I had standing at the table at Fall Fest. That seemed to be the biggest concern, was if pre-K to 5 went forward, what's happening with the Wildwood site, what's happening with the Woburn Street site. And I think that in order to get the support so that it does well at the ballot box, it does well at the town meeting, we need to include that as part of our messaging, thank you, that we have a plan, or that we encourage people to get involved with the reuse committee, so that that is in the discussions, because it's on everyone's mind.
Thank you.
Thank you, Madam Vice Chair. I think that's a great point, and anyone can correct me if I'm wrong, but just so we're clear on that, the town has no official plans for any of the sites or any of the locations, depending on what the outcome is. Anything other would have been just somebody's personal opinion, but Eric, feel free to correct me if I'm wrong, but there are no definitive plans for any of the sites, because I think that is probably a question a lot of us have got. I know for sure I have.
I have as well. There are no plans, and if and when a project is chosen to go forward and sites become available, we would take those up. They'd go to a reuse committee. The select board would have to make a determination. And ultimately, if there's anything to happen with those sites that wasn't a town use, the town manager would have to declare them as surplus. And so that would be something that would have to go to me, and then eventually to town meeting.
And Madam Chair, to the town manager, correct me if I'm wrong as well, the Wildwood and the Woburn Street, if they become vacant, they still have to be turned over to the town by the school.
Correct. The schools would need to turn them back over to the town once they become no longer.
So there's nothing that we can do at this point.
Yes, correct. Thank you for clarifying that.
Any other discussions? Yes.
One point, I want to thank everyone for the conversation and the divergent viewpoints that have been expressed. And I really want to state how much I appreciate the wisdom, knowledge, and experience that is around this table, and the connections this table has with the community, and the opportunity we need to take with those connections, with whatever is approved, and with the support of the community here and the community that's been engaged to this point, to push this forward. And it will take all of us, and it will take the folks who've done these sorts of things. I mean, most of us have lived through many of these projects, but some of you have had much more direct experience with them. Been on the committee for this building, for example. And so that knowledge and that experience is something we're going to really need to rely on and leverage. And it's appreciated in advance. And thank you for all your support so far and all your efforts so far.
Thank you. Seeing no other comments or discussions, can we take a vote?
Roll call. Diane Allen?
No.
Greg Bendel?
No.
Kate Bissell?
Yes.
Dr. Brand?
Yes.
Kevin Kyra?
No.
Michael Comosio?
Yes.
Justin Couchet?
Yes.
Marianne Galezzo?
No.
Nicholas Golden?
Yes.
Christine Holleran?
Yes.
Dennis Kelly?
No.
Paul Melorani?
No.
Craig Minor?
Yes.
Christine Murray?
Yes.
Judy O'Connell?
Yes.
Christine Prendergast?
Yes.
David Ragsdale?
Yes.
Paul Wajiro?
Yes.
Stacy Scott?
Yes.
Eric Schlegel?
Yes.
Stephen Turner?
Yes.
And Vivian Varbedian.
Yes.
That would be 16 yes and 6 no.
With a majority vote, the new pre-K to 5 at the North Intermediate School passes. Thank you, everyone. Now, as part of the preferred option, we also have to make a determination for the larger size gymnasium space. One of the options is to go with the standard 6,000 square foot gymnasium space, or a larger 12,000 square foot gymnasium space. Can I get a motion, or actually, before we have a motion, any conversation, discussions?
Point of clarification. Is there a requirement for a decision, or is there an optional form? And I do not remember the name of the form of bid to design, where you have the option to bid with and without a particular feature of a building. does that option exist at this point in this process, within the MSBA process and such, to say we want bids for both? Or is there a point we need to make at this exact point in time for one or the other? And I just, as a clarification for us in the community.
I'll start the conversation or the discussion, and Lee, if you wouldn't mind jumping in anytime, is that at this point, we've already gone down a path where the design would require it to go forward with one of the choices. And the spaces surrounding the gymnasium would need to be developed, and whether we choose a smaller one, then some of the spaces would need to be condensed. And if we choose the larger, you know, obviously it would be enlarged. So there's a lot of factors that play into it, and it is not one that we can postpone and make a determination based off of the bid. Would that be an accurate statement, Lee?
It would, to your point, to develop a bid alternate for 9,000 square foot gym that, as we've got it designed right now, is pretty integral to everything. And the process and the speed at which we go through the MSBA process, it would be very difficult for us to carry that alternate all the way through this process. So we've been trying to put that out in front of this committee for a while now, that as part of the selection of a preferred option, we were looking for the determination of that. That's a big square footage change. It's a really hard alternate to be able to drive forward.
Thank you for the clarity.
Mary Ann?
Is there a way that, in the design, that we could put it on the outside of the building versus the middle? So later on down the road, if, you know, we have a balloon cost with the building, we can kind of rein that in?
Yes, anything's on the table as far as the design, right? We've just provided concepts, and that has been a consistent question, you know, over the last month. Is there a way to put that gym on an outside wall? For both of those considerations, whether you're looking for cost savings potentially for this project now, or if you did make that decision and say we want to go smaller, and then you want to add on later, adding on to a gym space is challenging just because of the large spans of all of the structure in there, but it is something that doing. So we could position the gymnasium, if that's the will of the committee, on the design process to be able to have that on an outside.
So if you were to go larger, design the school with a larger gym, is it easier to scale it back if we had to, as the process goes, or is that going to be more difficult?
I would say it's all relative, right, on the ease. It depends on where we are in the process. The earlier we make these decisions, the easier it's going to be and the more cost-effective it's going to be. If we wait to way down the road in the design process and we're saying, let's try and reel that back in, right, there's a lot more work that's gone into it, a lot more engineering work, and we've got to reel all of that stuff back. So we try and make these big decisions on square footage and program early on in the process, because it does get more expensive and more challenging the longer we go in the process.
But as we go forward in the process, we'll get more idea of costs with other things.
Yes, we're going to be consistently updating you guys with new cost estimates as we develop the iterations of the design.
So do we have to can I make an amendment to the motion to include that gym on an outside wall? Or is that something you can design going forward?
I think we can make that as just normal practice of our committee working forward and improving which way the design goes. I think what we're looking and asking for tonight is just a determination at this point what the size of the building would be and what the size of that gym program specifically would be.
To follow on to those questions, the current design as part of the public-private space has the gym in the center of the public space. If the gym were on an external wall, which is a very good creative idea, could potentially move that wall. If the gym is on an exterior wall, does that defeat some of the possibilities of public-private spaces, or is it still, because it would be an external easement then, external access, excuse me, so does that change that?
We can make that work both ways,
Okay.
the public-private separation for off-hours use of it. We'll make that work both ways, whether the gym is kind of as it's configured now conceptually, or whether we move it to try and be on an outside wall. We can do both of those.
Okay, good, thank you.
Yes.
Madam Vice Chair, my experience with MSBA is that they cover precisely certain square footages of spaces. Is the larger gym entirely covered by MSBA reimbursement, or is that, or we be on the hook for that share? Or did we already talk about
No,
this?
the reimbursable eligible portion of a elementary school program with this population is 6,000 square feet.
Okay.
And so we're talking about 12,000 square feet, so 6,000 square feet of that would be ineligible space. And it's actually 6,000 plus that multiplier I talked about before.
Yeah.
So it's actually 9,000 square feet of space. And so when we ran this through the cost estimate, and I think we talked about this a couple of months ago, when we had tried to attempt to do this before with MSBA's kind of calculation and their spreadsheet, it's really challenging to try and come up with a project cost and then deduct their ineligible spaces out of it. So we this time said, let's do it fresh. That's why we did it with a smaller square footage project and ran it through the system that way. So it worked out to I think it was $6.7 million increase in project cost. You know, I think it was a $6.4 million hit on ineligible costs to the project. And so those have already been factored into the local share calculations that you guys have seen to date. What you would see change is the information we gave you today, right? If you change from 12,000 to 6,000, you would see that deduction in gross square footage and correspondingly in cost and local share.
I know that when we built the high school, maybe, Paul, you can remember, we had to apply for a waiver for the band room.
Correct.
And through the treasurer's office, and we got a waiver. Did that impact our share of the pay, or of what we had to pay, or did that just allow us to build the space in the MSBA project? I'm wondering if you're familiar with the waiver process and how that works.
I think that was granted. I believe that it was still calculated as an eligible square footage, and you were still responsible for that local share.
It just allows us to add that to our project.
Yeah,
Okay.
you make it bigger, yeah.
Okay.
I would like to add, though, that since the decision is to consolidate 3 schools, it would be beneficial if you had done these schools as a separate project. You would be having 3 6,000 square foot gymnasiums. Granted, Dr. Brand has stated that it is not paramount for the larger gym to make it as a functional space for the students. They can do without it and be able to accommodate all of the activities within a 6,000. But there will be a larger number of population of students going in, so please do take that into consideration as well. Christine?
Piggybacking that, my concern is that going with this 6,000 square foot creates a deficit for our community that we did hear from our staff. We do need the 12,000 square feet to accommodate recreation. And if we kick the can down the road on that and we had to build some sort of a standalone facility, it would definitely cost us a hell of a lot more than $3 per month as calculated there. So I think that it's getting the most bang for our buck by including it now.
And Glenn, I think you also, sorry about that, Mr. Bendel, I think you had your hand raised as well. No? But before we also do that, the current cost estimate includes the larger gym, does it not?
Correct.
Okay. Nick, I apologize.
No, that's great. My point of information was going to be, I don't know who the appropriate person this is, so maybe Madam Vice Chair, you can direct it to that person. But when we talk about recreation using these spaces, is that kids? Is that adults? I mean, I'm sorry that I don't know this off the top of my head, but.
All the above.
Both.
Both.
Yeah, it's children, it's adults, it's community groups, it runs the games at the athletic department.
Basketball, adult basketball.
Okay.
and stuff.
So.
And I believe also CARES, am I correct, Dennis?
Yep.
Utilizes the space as well.
Right. Given that that's the case, and given that Dr. Brand has expressed that, it isn't educationally absolutely required, and given that we're going to be trying to bring this to the town, one of the things that came up at the senior center, for those who didn't make that meeting, was the size of this gym, and the belief among some of those attendees that it wasn't fully merited. I think, in an act of good faith, it may be worth us trimming this down to 6,000, especially if we have adults there. I don't really see. I know the athletics department made a great point about the use of the space, but if we can shave off several $1 million here, I think we should at least consider it.
Dennis?
In talking with the athletic director and rec department and everyone, and they were here for one of the meetings, you realize, and I'm involved in a lot of the scheduling because I schedule the overtime for the students, you'd be amazed how much the community uses it. And I think when we may not realize how much space we're losing and how much that gym is important until it's gone. I think for $3 a month, when you're talking about a tax increase, $3 or $36 to $40 a year, for something the entire community get use of, and you never have to worry about trying to build something again. When you look at these dollar amounts, I think it should be the 12,000 square foot, and I think we will definitely use it and get plenty of use out of it. CARES does take a lot of it, and the athletic department doesn't get to use it. If it was a 12,000, you could put the divider up, CARES could still use it, and the athletic department could run practices, or the rec department, or anyone. So I think there's a huge value to the community if we're gonna go down the path of pre-K through 5. And if we determine on this building that a 12,000 is too big, when we build on the other side of town someday, we build a 6,000. But I think we're gonna find that after losing those other gyms and the value of it, would want the bigger gym.
Judy?
Yes, Madam Vice Chair, I'd like to put a motion on the floor to vote the 12,000 square foot gymnasium size, with hopes of getting a second for further discussion for the exterior wall. And if I can get a second, I'd like to offer a comment.
I'll second.
My comment would be, if we do it with the exterior wall with the 12,000, we have it in play and we can work through it with the committee. I'm concerned about boxing us into a smaller size. I'd rather start large and value engineer it lower, or make decisions at future committee meetings. It would give more autonomy to the committee. It would keep the project going, and as we get more concrete estimates and better numbers as we move forward, with the consultation of our professionals, we can make key decisions, but I'd like to leave that option on the table for the committee.
I would echo those sentiments. Stephen?
So to be very strictly consistent, from a fiscal perspective, doing this sooner is cheaper than doing it later. So it has good, important community needs. A lot of us have had children run through the north of the Woburn Street gyms at different times for volleyball, basketball, all sorts of winter programs, all sorts of adult programs. So from a purely, as this has been mentioned, is not purely an educational topic. It would be used by the schools and could be put to good use. But as a townsperson, from a pure tax perspective and from a benefit to the town, I think including it here is the best and most responsible option. I can understand a lot of divergent viewpoints, and it would be heartbreaking if this were the reason it didn't pass. But to Mr. Kelly's point, I believe that the distinction between the two options is small enough that this is not going to be the deciding factor. And to our town manager's point, people are generally going to be aligned with where they are based on the overall concept at the first blush. So I feel like the right approach for the town's benefit would be to include it. I do appreciate the flexibility to have an opportunity if we run into an unexpected event in the near future, to be able to look at potentially using that as a value engineering option.
Madam Chair, can we move the vote, please?
There's another comment.
Manager, one point to simplify this to Lee and Ronnie. Are we discussing flipping the gym with the cafeteria essentially, and the gym is on that exterior wall? Is that the scale?
Potentially, yes.
Thank you.
We can move to vote.
Diane Allen?
Yes.
Craig Bendel?
Yes.
Kate Bissell?
Yes.
Dr. Brand?
Yes.
Kevin Kyra?
Yes.
Michael Comosio?
Yes.
Justin Couchet?
Yes.
Marianne Galezzo?
Yes.
Nicholas Golden?
Yes.
Christine Holleran?
Yes.
Dennis Kelly?
Yes.
Paul Melorani?
Yes.
Craig Minor?
Yes.
Christine Murray?
Yes.
Judy O'Connell?
Yes.
Christine Prendergast?
Yes.
David Ragsdale?
Yes.
Paul Ruggiero?
Yes.
Stacy Scott?
Yes.
Eric Schlegel?
Yes.
Stephen Turner?
Yes.
And Vivian Barbedian.
Yes.
It's unanimous.
Thank you. We could all take a moment to exhale. I know I need it. And with that, following on our agenda is the budget and schedule update.
Madam Vice Chair, would you mind if we circled back to
Yes.
the amendment for
Yes.
Doran Whittier? So you all received Doran Whittier's amendment number 3 in your packet. There were two options. We are obviously looking at the one for the North Intermediate School. This is for site investigatory services to include survey, traffic impact, and geotechnical. The total amount of this is $145,075.70. The one caveat I will use is that we have discussed, and when I say we, I mean Doran Whittier, has discussed with the town and the DPW about having the DPW do the test pits, and that is a cost savings to this amendment. At this time, I don't have the exact dollar amount that it will save us, but it's approximately $5,000. So I'd like to see if someone can make a motion to approve this at $145,075.70 with the caveat that we will be potentially saving $5,000 by using the town.
Madam Vice Chair,
Yes.
on page 5, it says Niche reserves the right to revise the proposal should the signed copy not be received by October 6, 2024. So unless we can change that date,
Can we include that in the motion language?
We don't know.
I don't know I have the power to change this document.
Yeah.
That's part of, which consultants?
Say again?
Do you know which consultants?
I'm sorry, can you-
contract this in?
On page 5, under termination,
Are you looking at?
Second to the last
Consultant
paragraph.
proposal? Is that what you're looking at?
Say it again?
Are you looking at a consultant's proposal?
Yes.
Like,
In this packet?
I'm sorry.
It's the packet that was distributed
It came
electronically.
to me in email, it's not part of the packet from
Oh.
tonight. Would you like to see it?
Hang on.
No, I recall it now.
and that may be the case, right, when we've asked the consultants to get these costs put together, right, it was before we delayed, and they were putting
I
together.
just
We've-
want to make sure that we're
We've
voting on a
reviewed all
number
of
that's...
this, and what you're approving is the number that's on the cover letter. We'll take care of the contracting with all of the sub-consultants. And I did want to be clear, we weren't asking the town or DPW to conduct the test pits. It's actually using the
Correct.
town's equipment to actually dig the test pit, and our engineers would be there to observe everything that's in it. But it is a potential savings, we thought, for the town, instead of having an outside rig come in and be able to do that.
And
Just
the
for
DPW, Jamie McGowley, were more than happy to work with everyone to do that, so they stepped up on that.
Can we?
So we're okay with that date?
Yes.
Okay.
Good point.
Madam Vice Chair, I'll make a motion to approve ASR 03, the Site Investigation Services Study at North Intermediate School Site, in the amount of $145,075.70, with the caveat of test kit savings of approximately $5,000 for work to be performed in conjunction with the Wilmington DPW.
Anybody second? Thank you. Roll call vote?
Diane Allen,
Yes.
Greg Mendel,
Yes.
Kate Bissell,
Yes.
Dr. Brand,
Yes.
Kevin Kyra,
Yes.
Michael Comosio,
Yes.
Justin Couchet,
Yes.
Mary Ann Galezzo,
Yes.
Nicholas Golden,
Yes.
Christine Holleran,
Yes.
Dennis Kelly,
Yes.
Paul Melorani,
Yes.
Craig Minor,
Yes.
Christine Murray,
Yes.
Judy O'Connell,
Yes.
Christine Prendergast,
Yes.
David Ragsdale,
Yes.
Paul Ruggiero,
Yes.
Stacy Scott, Eric Schlegel, Stephen Turner,
Yes.
Vivian Barbedian.
Yes.
Unanimous.
Thank you. Now, the next item on the agenda is budget and schedule update.
So we're gonna skip to the schedule update, next steps.
So thank you, everyone, for all of the votes and work done today. I know it wasn't easy, but I'm sure, as Vivian mentioned, everyone's taking a sigh of relief that we're able to start this next phase, and we're excited to be here to do that with you. So as you've just authorized ASR 3, next steps is right tonight. I will be letting our consultants know that we are ready to move forward and which site we'll be moving forward with. So very quickly, we'll be looking to begin the site survey, the traffic study, geotechnical, geoenvironmental work on the North Intermediate site. The next SBC meeting is something that we would like to talk about because we are also preparing the PSR submission to the MSBA. That is scheduled for October 24th, but it does require a vote from this committee to submit
that submission of the preferred schematic report. And so we are looking to propose having a virtual meeting. The documents would be distributed through the district office by October 18th, the latest. And we would like to potentially look at a meeting on either October 21st or 22nd for that approval to submit on October 24th to the MSBA. I believe
Dr. Brand's office is going to send out a doodle poll tomorrow just to see everyone's availability for those 2 days. It should be a relatively quick meeting. We may have one other item to discuss with you on that meeting, but it should be relatively quick.
Right, Vice Chair, just for the record, just a reminder, we have a town-wide joint meeting on the 22nd at Town Hall, 7 o'clock.
Thank you.
Looking at our decision.
Also, as part of that meeting date is not only the requirement to vote to approve to move forward and allow Doran Whittier and SMMA to submit on our behalf. I believe there was also an idea of presenting on CM at risk or a design bid build delivery method for the project.
Yes, our intent is to show a short presentation on the differences between design bid build and CM at risk, construction manager at risk. Give you all the opportunity to think about it, and then we'll come back in November, and in November ask you to vote whether or not you'd like to move forward with CM at risk. That process is about 90 days. We have to submit to the IGO's office. We also have to set out RFPs similar to what you did for the OPM and for the design team, interview candidates, and then move forward. It is not a fee-based, it is, what's the word I'm looking for, Lee? Qualifications-based, sorry.
And fee-based.
Yep.
It's both.
It's both, but we based on qualifications and they provide us their fee. So we will show you a short presentation in October.
And if I remember correctly, this building was CM at risk.
Correct, it was. And just to put those two items into context, one being your vote on the PSR submission, just so you're aware, if you've looked at the PD book, there are usually two binders. I think the PDP submission was like 1,300 pages. This is like 2,000 pages. We'll send you electronic links to each of those. There shouldn't be a lot of surprises in there. We've tried to take this whole report and break it up and give it to you in every one of our presentations. So it's just a culmination of everything that we put together, but we need to put it in front of you, obviously resulting in tonight's vote on a preferred selection. So we do need to do that just perfunctory to be able to say that we've done that and we've approved it for submission so we can move on to the next phase. The other piece, we're not looking for a decision at this next meeting on CM at risk versus design bid build. We just want to be able, there's pros and cons to each of them. There's a history in the community of you guys have done some projects with CM that have been successful, but we just like to be able to have those discussions about things that you've learned from people on this committee that have been through that before, as well as ourselves, and make a good decision moving forward. So again, it'll be for informational purposes. For the CM delivery piece, it would be a vote on the PSR submission so that we can submit that to MSBA.
Yeah, just to be clear, that PSR submission does need a vote by the committee. And then we will submit that back to the MSBA with their comments that they sent to us. So it is a requirement of the MSBA that we get an official vote.
Okay. So in November, after all that good stuff, so part of our preferred schematic submission is a presentation to what is referred to as the Facilities Assessment Subcommittee. It's part of the MSBA, and that's when they review with the design team as well as the town and the district the preferred option, and they will want to get into detail on why we've selected this option and for us to relay the information more or less of what we've submitted in the report, but a summary of that prior to the MSB board meeting. So that's scheduled for either November 6th or 13th. We'll find out that exactly after we submit the preferred schematic report on the 24th. The next SBC meeting is currently scheduled for November 12th. We do understand that there is a potential conflict
with some other meetings in town. And to address that, we are proposing to move that meeting to November 19th. And so that would be something for consideration for the November SBC meeting. And then also we'll have user group meetings with all of the different departments that are involved with the school building to get into further detail for each individual space. The product that comes out of those user group meetings will be what's considered room data sheets. And for every single space in the building, we will have a room data sheet. And it is our way of tracking the requirements for each space and what we need to move forward with and make sure we include in the design. And that helps us, as we move forward, because with each phase, we are repricing the project to make sure that we are staying within budget. And so it helps us track, and also a summary of all of the space needs. And then, as we're moving forward, little heads up, it's going to get busy, it's going to get fast, it's going to be exciting, I hope, for each of you. As we're going through this, we're going to be looking to make a lot of decisions very quickly over the next few months, because when we get to the end of schematic design, we are moving into that agreement with an actual number to move forward to with this project and to go to the community with. And so we are going to do our due diligence with all of you to try to make as many decisions as possible. So be prepared. We're excited.
Madam Chair, a question. So as we're making these decisions, I know we've been getting information in advance. Hopefully we're going to keep getting documents up front that we can look at so that we're making decisions after having reviewed.
That is the plan.
Yes,
and
that's our
intent.
hope. I will say we will probably be asking you, actually, I know we will be asking you to meet more frequently. We can look at, options on if meeting in person, say every 2 weeks is difficult, maybe doing one virtually, one in person, or doing them hybrid to give people flexibility to be able to participate, every 2 weeks. But it is a lot of decisions, and when you think about having 2 weeks, it's a lot of information for us to put together so that we can have information for you. So we will do our best to get as much information to you ahead of time and give you time to review it.
These are like progress prints, whatever you're doing internally as part of the process. If we just have those, that'll help the process, speaking from the designer.
Right.
Don't create more, just give us what you have.
Oh, right.
So that we're looking at the same information as you're ready to release it.
I think just to add to that, I think one thing that I found to be a helpful tool, because Ronnie's right, the paces are gonna quicken, the decisions are gonna come fast, and what we wanna do is by the next meeting to be able to provide you with basic agendas for our next meetings through the schematic design phase, so you guys have an opportunity to know what we're gonna be talking about and when we're thinking that you're gonna have to make decisions on certain things. Because when you step back and look at this at the end of schematic design, when we sit down with MSBA, they're going to tell us a couple of things. They're going to say, this is your final number that you've approved with town meeting. That's the budget we have to live within. The other piece that is married to that is the square footage. When we submit schematic design to MSBA, we're telling them these are our educational needs. We're going to be explaining those needs to them at this FAS meeting that's coming up, and that's the primary focus of that. They want to make sure that we've thought through the educational program piece of this. They're going to be asking, this is our informal opportunity with the MSBA Board of Directors, who is a component of this group, so that they can ask us those tough questions that they probably wouldn't do in their Board of Directors meetings, to make sure that we've thought through all of these things. So when we say that we have, and we say this is our program, we can't come back at the end of schematic design and say, we're changing the square footage. I know what we told you before, what we needed, but we don't. So MSBA, they tell us all the time, at the end of schematic design, the town and the design team need to know we've locked this plan down, right? The program and the square footage are gonna not change. Where we're showing stuff on floor plans can't really change too much after schematic design. That's why we have to put in a lot of effort at this point to try and get as much information as we can into this phase so that we have a good number and we're all comfortable with the program that we're moving forward with. Because change after schematic design, it's really challenging with MSBA to change that program after the fact.
With that said, if we come down to a point that we're not getting information like the morning of a meeting that night, we need to think about canceling that meeting and giving this committee time to digest what you're sending. I I mean, we can't, most of us work, we can't even look at what you're sending during the day. So we need to really be mindful that anything that we get during, a couple hours before a meeting, we should really think about postponing the meeting at that point.
No, and we appreciate that sentiment, honestly. We've had internal conversations about when things need to come to the OPM so that the OPM can preview it before it goes out to the superintendent's office for distribution. And we've worked out a system. I will say, on behalf of the design team, that they are moving at a fast pace. And so what you see that you may receive in your packet on a Friday may tweak a little bit for that Tuesday meeting. Our goal is not to have it tweak so much so that you're all confused and say, I don't understand, this is not what you showed us. But they are moving fast. They are trying to get as much detail as humanly possible, even up to the last minute.
I don't mind tweaks, but we've had many instances when we don't get packets until 2 hours before a meeting, and it just, can't ask us to make these decisions.
Understood. And so we had that conversation about when things are due, and we will stand by it.
Madam Vice Chair?
Thank you. Yes.
Through you to Lee and Eric, can you guys just walk us through the timing now of schematic design, town meeting, special election, just like kind of your best guess at what we'd be looking at for dates and timing for that stuff?
Sure, I can start the schematic design process. Our goal is by mid-February to have a set of documents that we can relay to the cost estimators. There's going to be several of them at that point. And then we're going to be submitting our schematic design in April to MSBA. By the end of June, MSBA is scheduled to have their board meeting to approve your project and the MSBA portion of the project that they're funding and lock into that agreement with you. Our preliminary conversations have been talking about town meeting, a special town meeting sometime in the fall, followed by a scheduled debt exclusion vote. Timing of that to be determined based on discussions of this group and other boards within the community as well. After a vote takes place in September, it's about a 9-month sprint through the rest of the design process until we're ready to go out to bid. Depending on which delivery method we choose, if we take construction management, which you have been familiar with, there's an opportunity for us to kind of stack sequences of projects together. We can do site design and put that package out to bid while we're still working on the design of the building to try and pick up on the construction. So these are some of the pros and cons that we'll talk to you about. And so where I'm going is it's about 9 months after you vote the project, we're ready to bid. Depending on how you're going to deliver the project will depend on what the construction duration is.
Yeah, to further follow up on that, I think the reason why the votes wouldn't be into the fall is because there's some concern about trying to have a town meeting or votes during the summer. If we work as a leadership group and think that we can have the final number in time to vote before the summer, that would be ideal. But at this point in time, I'm not sure that we know that we're going to be able to get that final number in order to have a June vote. I'd love to make up those 3 months because, as Lee has mentioned before, every month is money.
Yep.
But I don't think it's prudent for us to go to town meeting or to a ballot without that final number.
If there's nothing else to present?
I'll just quickly review this slide. This is just a phase overview. So as mentioned, it's going to be moving very quickly. November, December, January, we'll be working on all of the different design aspects, including sustainability. We'll be presenting, massing models, elevations, sections for you to understand how the building works. The room data sheets, which I talked about already, looking at some of the interior perspectives as well. And that'll happen over the next 3 months. In February, our focus is cost estimating. In March, we'll actually go through cost estimating reconciliation process because SMMA will also have an independent cost estimate produced, and so we will reconcile our two estimates. And then if a CM was brought in, that would actually potentially be a third estimate to have to reconcile. So that's potentially 3 eyes on the same set of documents. And then we would, from there, move forward with preparing the design, schematic design package to submit to the MSBA by the end of April. Okay. That for you today.
With that, before we conclude, and I ask for a motion.
Dr. Brand has his hand raised.
Sure.
He needs to go to sleep.
Dr. Brand?
Thank you. I just want to take the opportunity and thank members of the committee for your thoughtfulness tonight. I know this was a difficult decision, but on behalf of our students, our staff, our families, and the Wildwood Woodbury North, thank you for making this decision to move forward to the next step in this. It is a long journey to the knowledge, but on their behalf, thank you for that. Vivian, thank you for standing in for me tonight during my absence. You did a great job. I appreciate your willingness to take on this work tonight. Thank you to the committee for your patience through some of my technical difficulties earlier today. I will work on putting together a notice and announcements to the community in the coming days regarding this meeting. As has been mentioned tonight on a few occasions, we have captured their interest and their attention to this project, and I think it's only fitting to make sure that they understand what we're materialized tonight. One final thing to come back to as a committee, not tonight, and it's been a long night, but to talk about the rebranding, the renaming of this project. We've obviously had that discussion in the past, but certainly now that we've crossed this line, we need to have more conversation around what we might want that to be. Thanks again, though, for all of your time tonight.
Thank you. And before I ask for a motion to adjourn, I'd just like to take the opportunity to thank everybody as well as applaud you all. So thank you for all your efforts. With that, can I get a motion to adjourn?
So moved, Madam Chair.
Thank you, and seconded. Roll call?
Diane Allen?
Yes.
Greg Vendel?
Yes.
Kate Bissell?
Yes.
Dr. Brand?
Yes.
Kevin Kyra?
Yes.
Michael Camosio?
Yes?
Justin Couchet?
Yes.
Marianne Galezzo?
Yes.
Nicholas Golden?
Yes.
Christine Holleran?
Yes.
Dennis Kelly?
Yes.
Paul Malorani?
Yes.
Craig Minor?
Yes.
Christine Murray?
Yes.
Judy O'Connell?
Yes.
Christine Prendergast?
Yes.
Dave Ragsdale?
Yes.
Paul Ruggiero?
Yes.
Stacy Scott?
Yes.
Eric Slagle?
Yes.
Stephen Turner?
Yes.
Vivian Barbedian?
Yes, thank you. Everyone, have a great night.
Good night.